This is Philip Roy playing the Doctor.
And I'm Mandy Rose and I play Jenny.
For the Doctor Who fan film, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, this is the Type 40 podcast.
That's it, all in time for Type 40 Live, materialising here again with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen in real time on Rumble, X, YouTube and on Facebook too, and always in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you. We've got a special event, early edition of the show where all opinions are welcome, where we know each episode of Doctor Who is potentially fan-making, and where we know it wouldn't be the same without you either. We're getting together, all of us, to compare notes, takes, Operation Scars, maybe all of the above. It couldn't be far from the truth. After the events of the last weekend, where a new series of our favourite TV show has kicked off, hasn't it? The best TV series of all time, Doctor Who. Oh, what's going to be said? What's going to happen? Who knows? I don't think he knows. No. Could be a rocky ride there, sunshine. Could be a rocky ride. Yes, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Delighted to be back on a strange day. I have a lot of strange days, particularly following this show with you lot. Yeah, get stuck in. We want all your comments. We want all that interaction, because there's a lot to get stuck into. Isn't there? We're off at last new series of Doctor Who, the first one in over 2.5 years. I think it is something like that. Just 2 down. How many to go? So much to talk about. So much to get stuck into.
Welcome to Type 40.
Yeah, a rocky ride could be ahead for the 15th Doctor. I'm not entirely sure, because here to bring in their hot-ish takes, their cold shoulders and pet peeves, rants and maybe raves, who knows? We've got a panel of some of the regulars. They're pumped and hyped, or is it pumped and dumped? I suppose we'll find out as I bring them in one by one. First of all, sporting a new T-shirt and looking as energetic as ever, we have the mega geek Ian David Diaz. Hello, mate.
Yeah, hello. I'm not sure about energetic though.
You're bursting and buzzing with energy, mate.
Not really. I'm knackered. I'm so
That's for the
tired.
magic for the punters.
Yeah, wow. I could lie, but it's not very good to lie on the internet. Put it that way. Yeah, exactly.
We'll liven you up somehow, particularly with the TARDIS sort of rocking and rolling around like this. I'm not sure about the colour scheme. It looks like this reminds me of a Prince video from the 1990s. You know,
purple. Yeah. I didn't realise it could change colour.
It can now.
Cool, I guess. Yeah.
He can do it with his. He can do it with his hoofer doofer. I can't call it a sonic. It doesn't look like a sonic screwdriver. It looks like a hoofer doofer to me. Can do everything, like an Alexa thing that can do your lights and play music from little white balls over your house. That kind of thing. Maybe it's that sort of thing.
It looks like a remote control for the TV. Kind of the old ones in the old days, but anyway, whatever.
Could be the old days. I don't remember the old days. I'm far too
young. Yeah.
Do you remember the old days, Charlotte Shields?
It depends which old days you're talking about.
Too young.
It's my old days now, I suppose.
I suppose you had, in your equivalent of the old days, you probably had mobile phones, didn't you?
To be fair, I was weird. I didn't get my first mobile, and I'm not joking, till I was 18. I think I was one of the only people ever, like in my age bracket, that hadn't had a phone yet.
Well, yeah.
Almost
Yeah, a lot of parents were like that, actually. When I was growing up, they wouldn't allow some of my friends to have a mobile phone.
Yeah, none of my kids had phones.
Yeah.
If I had my way, nobody would have a phone
exactly.
until they were 18, maybe even 21. Just imagine that, Simon Horton, a world where nobody had a phone until they were 21.
I think it's a brilliant idea. I'm the only person left in the world that still doesn't have a smartphone. There's my phone, and I'm very, very pleased with it. Thank you very much.
BlackBerry?
No, it's not even a BlackBerry. It's a Nokia. Yeah. It's a Nokia. Look at that. It's a Nokia, and I still have absolutely zero intention of getting a smartphone until they force me down the route, because it's getting harder and harder every day to not have a smartphone. So I'll have to give in eventually, but I'm holding out as long as I can. No interest in a smartphone. Thank you very much.
What about all those pictures of Ncuti I sent you? Didn't you get them?
I'm living without them, Ian. I'm living without them. Somehow I'm coping.
Oh, God. Well, the good news is, I think you'd still be able to work the lights in the new TARDIS with your...
I could use this. This is a bit like Ncuti's Sonic in many ways, isn't it? It's a hoofer-doofer. I love that, Dan. Yeah, definitely, it's a hoofer-doofer.
Hoofer-doofer. And you can plug it in where applicable, I think. It could work out okay.
I've not heard hoofer-doofer. In my house, it was thingy. If you don't know what it... Thingy-majiggy. That's it, sorry. Thingy-majiggy.
No,
Where's the thingy-majiggy?
Fingers are something else. Around my way, they definitely are. Who else have we got? Well, yeah, that's what goes on round our way. What about up his way, or is it down his way? I'm not quite sure how it works out where Matt Pot is, so let's find out.
Hello.
Mate.
How are we all today?
Hello.
Very English.
Hello.
Pip, pip. Jolly good.
Have you been called or something?
Touching grass, old bean.
I've been out enjoying the good weather.
Have you indeed? Go off.
Good weather. What do you make of this then, Matt? You know, TARDIS is where you can change the colour scheme.
I actually that's the one thing I like. I actually like the disco.
Reminds you of the Days Out clubbing, does it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't club that much, but yes. Yes, it's very pretty. I like it. I just like it. I can't help it. It's like, I wonder what I could do there, you know?
Everything's got sort of so elaborate, hasn't it? Sort of everything can change colour
and stuff. It's great.
Everything can move. You know, even road signs advertising things like Doctor Who on iPLAYER, they can move and ripple and do all sorts of things now. Still getting used to seeing these. They're turning up all over the place now after the bloody series has started. But they are turning up. Thank heaven for the fan base, because between us we can keep an eye on what's been trending, and what a big few days it's been in the Doctor Who community. Before we get there, though, whilst you're limbering up, I want to make something very, very clear, because this is a momentous occasion. So it's essential that we sit back for a moment and stare in sheer awe at the scale, stature, and endurance, Simon, of a genuine British icon. It's one that stands tall, stands
I'm not really British.
Stands out from all around it. Let me get there. It's distinctive, challenging, and a favourite for generations of families. Now, I'm not talking about Doctor Who. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the Blackpool Tower.
Woohoo!
So, the Blackpool Tower is 130 years old today, would you believe, Simon?
Is it? Oh, my life. That's fantastic.
Never been there.
I've been
right. Who else has... I've been right to the top. Have you been up to the top, Ian?
No, I've never been.
You've never been there?
No.
Have you never been to Blackpool ever? Like, just...
I have been to Blackpool, but I've never been up there.
Wow, it's fantastic. Now up there, they've got a glass floor, so you can literally look straight away down. It's very, very funky.
What
was it originally for?
Dallas and not Blackpool.
Yeah,
It was mainly for decoration and observation, I think, because obviously 130 years ago, that
it might have been for blimps or something.
No.
That takes it back to the latter part of the 1800s. So Queen Victoria was still on the throne.
Yeah.
And Alexandra Palace was built not that long after, was it? And there was the Great Exhibition, was that the 1800s? So there was lots of feats of engineering, Simon. That was sort of build it because you can.
And yeah, absolutely, and I think it was built because in those days, Matt, the seaside resorts in the UK were just becoming massive, because that's where everybody was suddenly going on holiday. And so, yeah, Dan's right. It goes back to the Victorian days, and Blackpool was just one of the most popular places. So for some reason, they just decided to build a tower that is sort of based on the Eiffel Tower. Obviously, it wasn't. It was influenced by the Eiffel Tower.
Simon, like Ian, I've never been up to the top. I'm scared of heights, so I've never done that. Heights is the one thing that I just cannot do, so I can't see me ever. Maybe I'll go up there one day. I don't know.
There's a fantastic circus in the sort of a crypt as well. You've been up to the top, haven't you, Charlotte?
No, I've been to Blackpool a few times, but I've not been to the tower.
So I'm the only one that's been into the tower. Wow. Okay. No, it's well worth a visit. And the circus is amazing because it's literally set in the basement, and so you literally see the four legs of the tower coming down. They're part of the basement. So you're very aware that you're sitting at the bottom of the tower. It's an amazing experience. There's loads to see in there. It's a really good visit. Well worth. Highly recommended.
Now, I'll admit its ties to Doctor Who are tenuous. But back in 2007, the Doctor's sort of timey-wimey detector thingy that he used, I think that was in Blink? Something like that? It seemed to have a postcard of the tower sort of built or taped into it for reasons that I never really knew. Now, is that enough to justify this really silly item, even by our standards, Ian?
I think it's enough. Personally,
good man.
I think it's enough. Listen, I saw David Tennant turn the Blackpool lights on, standing underneath the tower, and there you go. That's the opening of the 1974 exhibition. So
wow. It's lucky that car didn't run over them.
Yeah,
pretty freaky. That's one for Tom Alford. I know Tom's in the chat tonight, so that's definitely for Tom Alford, that photo.
I love the sign saying Subway and toilets. I think there's a McDonald's in one of those venues now, or certainly there was afterwards, because I'm sure I've eaten there, or some sort of fast food venue. But I love this picture. I love the spiders. I can just imagine the special effects guys hoping that one of them wasn't going to get run over there, Ian. But it does say that the iconic venue opened in 1894, where the first video visitors stood in awe of the design, scale, and ornate decoration, and that today it's evolved and developed, and visitors are astounded. It's still got this wow factor after all this time. Yeah. And they rent it out as a venue, so there's 11 different rooms with 5 amazing attractions inside the tower. And you can host sort of up to 2,000 guests there. So I didn't know any of that went on. I just knew that sometimes they film Strictly Come Dancing there.
Oh, well, that's it. The Tower Ballroom is just absolutely phenomenal. It's just an amazing sight. I love Sam's comments in the chat here that he's just put in. When I was a kid, my parents took me to the top so that I could shout, "Bye bye, Duggan." How fabulous is that? What can I say? My parents are a bit short of cash. Well, Sam, you know what? It's just as good shouting from the top of the Blackpool Tower. There's nothing wrong with that.
There it is, the Las Vegas of the North, as do they still call it the Las Vegas of the North?
They should do if they don't.
They used to. They definitely used to. Yeah, up and away. Happy birthday to the Blackpool Tower. We've got high hopes, of course, for Doctor Who going forward. And you can. I don't think you can quite see up. I don't think Ruby's wearing a skirt there. I think they're more shorts than a skirt. So bad luck, guys. Maybe another time. But yes, obviously it's this big relaunch, isn't it, of Doctor Who, and its evolution to a streaming first model that's happening. And in the wake of this, the BBC have gone into their Whoniverse hub on the iPLAYER app yet again and given it all a bit of a tweak. So this is the specific area of the iPLAYER that hosts almost the entirety of Doctor Who from 1963 right up to now. All free. So, well, free if you're a license fee payer, of course. So it's not really free, is it? But if you recall, they launched this last autumn, wasn't it, with quite a fanfare as I lead into the 60th anniversary event. Now they keep adding items, Simon. I don't know if you've noticed, they add scripts, PDFs of scripts and things like that. and they've been putting clip shows and all sorts of little curiosities on there. So it has been evolving. But in this new refresh, I was really happy to see this because they've gone back to the artwork and given it a bit of an upgrade. So I thought this looked a little bit dowdy like that, and they've pimped it out a little bit with this new piece, obviously with the new Doctor there in the dead centre, and a much better, much more prominent place for the Doctor, Tom Baker. He's not in the shadows anymore. He's there, very, very visible, doing the thing with his hand.
Yeah, City of Death, isn't it? There we go. That's the we've just talked about Blackpool Tower in Blackpool, and now we're talking about City of Death in Paris. We don't just throw these things together, do we, Dan?
It's almost like I'm trying to soothe you, Simon.
Is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to lull me with a picture of Liz Sladen, aren't you? That's what you're trying to do.
Because obviously this is a crucial time, isn't it, for their streaming options at the BBC, their various windows. They're going to want to send people, aren't they? You know, regardless of the new series of Doctor Who in like 6 or 7 weeks until that sort of runs out, they're going to want people to keep going back to this hub and get into the habit of watching Doctor Who from throughout its lifespan, aren't they, Charlotte?
Oh, yeah, we said that was clearly the want for classic, to sort of get it out there and more accessible than the previous ways you'd had to watch it, which was through a paywall, which was, what was that thing? Was it, I forgot what it's on, when it was another streaming service. BritBox, that's it. So, yeah, it was very clear that they wanted the ease of access. And if Russell's got spin-offs, like he talked about, they're going to go on there. They're going to need to also be very easy to find.
The BBC Whoniverse. This is the graphic that they keep running this out before the episodes, and I think that they've got a truncated version of it which plays overseas. So they don't get the full fanfare behind the show. But I do wonder, is this going to catch on? Is this going to evolve in the way that they want it to? I suppose we're only going to know over time, aren't we, as everything continues. So let us know how you've been watching new Doctor Who, and have you been scratching the itch for whenever you originally got into the show, so whether it was during the classic era or in the new era since Russell T Davies originally restarted everything. A quick reminder as well, if you'd like more of us, you can get us in your ears as well as up on your screen if you head over to our home feed at type40.podbean.com. That's where you can find all the podcasts stretching right the way back. So there's the latest one. It's our review. Do you remember this one? Our review of The Church on Ruby Road there. So that's the most recent edition of the podcast. And then we've got our show with Ian Levine previewing all of this season, our interview as well with Ian, our chat with Tony Jordan from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, and right the way back through 2023, 2022, and all that. So you can find that all at type40.podbean.com or in video form here on the Type 40 YouTube channel as well. And of course, we're across all major podcatchers too. Thank you for your support, everybody. Are you all topped up, everyone, before we get stuck into the chat?
Yeah, I've got my mug.
Before we go any further, I think it's only right that we welcome everybody else who's watching there across YouTube, Rumble, X, and on Facebook in the Facebook group. So let's get over there and see what they've got to say.
The universe is collapsing. The only way to save it is to watch Type 40.
Is that his real hair?
Maybe we'll find out one day. Maybe we'll find out. Of course. So here we are again for this early edition of Type 40 Live. And who have we got? Matthew Butterfield's in, spoiling us. Are we spoiling you? Are we spoiling them? Have to wait and see. Thank you for joining us, Matthew. YW's in as well. Big Prick's in as well. Or is it Big Prick's out? I don't know. Big Prick was out at some point, touching grass, I hope, with his finger. But whatever, you do you.
Anything goes, especially in Ncuti's world.
He's happy with that. I was at a Lowland Hardy convention watching the episodes in a hotel in Birmingham. I know very well, with two others in my room gathered around. A propped up tablet at 1 a.m. I thought he said we gathered around and popped a tablet. I thought we don't hear about like that. No. Hello, everyone, says Cybermat Strikes. We've got a hello chat from Rose Kirby, too.
Happy dance like a chicken day morning after. What? Happy dance like a chicken day? What? Pardon? Explain, please, Rose.
Is that a new national holiday that they've seen?
It probably is. It might as well be. I know there's Talk Like a Pirate Day, isn't there? We really should do a podcast on Talk Like a Pirate. I mean, that genuinely is a thing.
I'd go for that.
Really?
Go for that.
It really is a thing, that one. Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Review The Curse of the Black Spot, something like that.
And the Pirate Planet. We've got to do it, Dan. We've got to do it. You saw it here first, folks.
We love your comments, but I can rarely understand any of them, but if you're enjoying it, that's fine by us. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is back as well. Hello, everyone. Glad to be back for this huge stream. Hopefully there won't be any twists at the end. There's always twists right the way through unless you get twists. None of that at the end business. Simon Anthony's in, says, hi, folks. If it gets too pointed, I'm off. I'm here for fun. Simon.
Don't worry, we're all here for fun. It's all good. It's all good. All whatever comments they are, they're all for fun.
We have non-stop fun. Hello there from Darren in the Darren Zone, which is still the Darren Zone, whether he likes it or not. Ahoy, shipmates from Crimpling to Bloon. And,
he'll know all about Pirate Day. That's for sure. Crimpling will.
Pirate Day for him every day, isn't it? Michael Q's in, who's not feeling himself by the looks of things. He seems to be in a state of fatigue.
Unless he's been touching too much grass, maybe it's possible. There's a lot of green coming out there.
Depends what kind of grass you're talking about. What do you think they will talk about tonight? Asks Neville Watkins.
Who can say?
Who knows? Evening all.
Well, I guess the title gives it away a bit, doesn't it, really?
And we have Adam Charlton from the Geek's Handbag and
Hello.
the Blue Box.
Hello, Adam.
Who says, hi everyone, I've been looking forward to this all weekend. Here we go. My God.
Right, hope you enjoy it.
No pressure,
Fingers
Matt.
crossed.
Hello, says Psychic Beats. Hello, folks, says Darren M. Matt, I think that one's just for you. Yeah. Evening all from the Star Hoovian.
Hello, Star Hoovian.
Look at that, Peter Capaldi with his beard, Charlotte.
I know.
Oh, that's such a good, angry face he does in that picture.
Hi, Crimpling. Evening, says John.
Hello, John.
Yeah, we got Capaldi's grumpy face, and then we got this. Oh, blimey, fantastic stuff. So, yeah, I mean, the question is, what did we do? Did we go for this or that? This or that? We'll find out as we get deeper into the conversation, and we need to know which one you plumped for as well. Which was the more inviting for you in the end? We have Stephen Braddock, who says hello, everyone. And yes, Tom is in. I'm still praising to the great one. Not
Quite
Russell
right,
T. Davis.
I don't think he means Russell T. Davis.
He does.
Hi, everyone. Hope all is well. That's Tony L.
Hello, Tony.
And we have Melanie Weston Investigates, no less. It says, hi, everyone. Investigating us.
Hello, Emily.
Ian will like the
AI, Ian.
I know it is.
Doesn't matter.
Go take wherever you get, mate. You have to do.
Hail, Ian, says Ezra Goldstein. Hail. Heaven knows what else. We've got Heretic in the live chat as well. Good to see you. And we've got Adam says the Sonic looks like a Sky remote. Apparently that's deliberate. They've deliberately chosen that design, but maybe it was maybe that was down to him as well. I don't know. Maybe he was worried he may sit on something a little bit more elongated. But that would stop him smiling, wouldn't it? Actually, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Yes. So let us know what you think of it all. Thank you for the comments and keep them all coming. We wanted to know about your viewing experience because we're definitely going to be sharing ours, whatever it was that we were doing. Whether we were, did you go for this? Or did you go for this? Or as it was a hot day, did you go for this? Did you go for a beer in the beer garden on Saturday? And you watched on stream.
Yeah, you wish it was real.
It was real, or they were real.
I love that.
I think it's definitely AI again, Matt, I'm afraid.
Yes, I know. No, I can tell AI. Don't you worry.
What does it say on the box, though?
Well, that's why you can tell it's AI, because it's all over the shop.
Fox? Something like that? I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Weird.
Oh, where do we go next year? Oh, in the direction of the Double Bill season premiere that we finally got the other day. Okay, so some of us got it earlier than others, despite what the BBC said. It wasn't a same-day delivery. The rest of the world got it on Friday. We got it on the Saturday. And I think we were all, waiting with sort of bated breath, kind of. all dressed up. I think there was people were having parties, cosplay parties, Charlotte. That is something that I do like about modern fandom and this kind of, I suppose you could say, just plain geekiness, isn't it? We've always had geekiness, but now people wear their geekiness very much out and proud. So I think that's pretty good. But it's one of the hottest days of the year, so I can't imagine that people are wearing too many scarves. I mean, last week we heard how Russell T Davies said, Charlotte, that he knows he can count on lifers like us to always cheerlead the show. Oh. I suppose it's better late than never, isn't it? After the other stuff he said about us. But that is generally speaking true, though, I think, Charlotte. We will always get behind the show.
I think we'll always give it a chance. And I think most fans will watch some of it. They'll give any Doctor a go. And then everybody's got their own sort of thresholds as to when they can carry on watching or stop or whatever that is. So, yeah, I think it's more that I think we will always look, because we love this show. We've been watching it for the years we have now. So we can't, some of us find it harder just to completely walk away without giving it a go, at least.
Will this be a doggy treat or a bit of a dog's dinner? We're going to do our best to find out right now.
So you went into a phone box with a mobile phone? They phoned me, it was raining. It was pouring the rain, that's why. So I went there to get so you went into a phone box and you had a mobile.
To cry in private.
I was hoping it was a TARDIS. Swat. I know, right.
Love that. So yes, we've been promised a joyride of these cosmic proportions on the final key art poster that's sort of blazing the trail for season 1. This is on posters literally all over the world, isn't it? To make us aware that all new Doctor Who is here. It's been a long wait, and Doctor Who fans were used to long waits, but Bad Wolf were announced as the new independent producers of the show back in 2021. And their intent is obviously to take the baton and run further with it than ever. So the keywords have always been global and streaming, and the initiative is to upscale the ambitions and resources and reach of the series as it enters its 7th decade. It's a tall order in an age where we're told that attention spans are shortening all the time, but people certainly have more choice than ever. But the hope is that in time, the audience regenerates. So the decision was made to launch with not 1 but 2 new episodes in that double bill. Before we get to that, though, here's a quick reminder, because a few of us have been to bed a couple of times since then. This is what went down on Friday / Saturday, depending on where you were.
Who are you?
I'm the Doctor. Where shall we go? Anywhere.
It's you!
Space baby! Abbey Road Studios!
Alright, let's take it from the top.
Oh, is it the universe, man?
You called. Is it safe?
No idea. Something is wrong with this place. What is...
Ruby, listen to me.
There are powers beyond the universe. So that the whole world could slide into the pain.
All of life extinguished. This is what we're trying to stop.
Honey, a much bigger bang than you bargained for.
We did almost die.
But we lived so much too.
Yes, we did.
Yes, so this was streaming all over the world. Sorry, Owen. This was streaming all over the world before eventually screening back in its traditional home on the early Saturday evening on BBC One. So whilst the way we watch TV has undoubtedly altered individually on our devices or whatever, and as a society, no one could really argue against that. The principle still remains pretty simple and the same as ever, although we're able to watch whenever. It's the onus is on program makers to create and maintain, Simon, the desire to watch at all, isn't it? That's the key. I want, whatever our circumstances, whatever our commitments on whatever night of the week, a commitment from us to make time for Doctor Who. That'll never change, will it? Despite the landscape changing and devices and things.
I don't know. It's a really difficult one because I'm not entirely certain that I agree that will never change. I think actually it has changed. I don't think with any TV show, not just Doctor Who, with any TV show, television these days is watched so much with one eye on the TV and one eye on a phone that you're doing other stuff while you're watching. And so can anything be sort of appointment TV anymore? I don't know. I guess that's the holy grail, isn't it? If you can actually put something out that is appointment television. Doctor Who's kind of abandoned that. They've abandoned even trying to be appointment TV. And that might be from pressure from Disney, we don't know, or it might be an internal decision with nothing to do with Disney. They just decided, no, let's just not even try and make it appointment television anymore. And the BBC's certainly going down the route of, no, just chuck everything on iPLAYER. So it's always available. So there's no song and dance about it being released. I personally think it's a fatal error, certainly on the part of Doctor Who. I do think it's a fatal error, and I think it will come back to bite it on the backside. I don't know. I think television these days is consumed so differently. People barely even watch television these days because they're doing something else at the same time. If they can remember to get round to watching it.
It is almost like an admission, isn't it, by going to streaming first, that any attempt to make this event TV is kind of doomed to failure. We may as well market it and sell it and shift it as product. There was a time where these two words, a new series or new season, that would be enough to send a shiver up our spines, Matt, wouldn't it? But now there's so much coming at us all the time, isn't there?
Yeah, I can't tell you the last time I watched terrestrial television at all. And so I know that they're actually doing a dedicated channel to, well, it's not completely dedicated, but they're actually going to have a channel completely dedicated to, it's going to have episodes of Doctor Who on it, but only up to the Whittaker era in Australia. So that's coming out next month. So, but I mean, I've got all the Blu-rays and that, so I'd rather watch them, the Capaldi stuff, not the other stuff. But it's just one of those things that I don't understand British culture, and if it's, with the whole license fee and everything as well. So, that's totally alien to me, and it's taken a long time for me to kind of understand how that works as well. So, I can understand why people would opt out, of that and go to streaming. I really do,
Yeah.
You're the one person out of everybody on the panel, Matt, who's not watched new Doctor Who for the longest, aren't you? This is the first season of Doctor Who that you've sat down and said, okay, yes, I'm committed to watching this in several years, isn't it? It's been since 2017 or earlier.
Yeah. I didn't watch the last episode of Capaldi. As far as I was concerned, that was a bridge too far to me. That was like, if I watch that, it means that Capaldi ended, so I'm not going to watch it. So I haven't seen it since then. So I've been completely out.
We're going to keep this pretty simple. We're going to find out what our viewing experiences were, wherever we were, the choices that we've made and why we've made them, and the conclusions that we've come to. We're going to report them back to you over there in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X, and you can join in too with yours, and we can see generally where the land lies with this, what the impact's been on the fan base and the general public too. So, Matt, with that in mind, I gather you did watch. And if so, then when did you watch? Did you jump right on Disney Plus? Because I understand you subscribed to Disney Plus with the express purpose of watching Doctor Who through it, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew it was coming back. I was actually going to cancel it last year. And it was just about on the borderline when the specials came out. And that was, of course, the only way we could watch it as well. So with the 60th. So yeah, I just had to renew for the whole year pretty much. So I did that with this, knowing that this series was coming and, you know, holding out hope that it was good.
You're cancelling tomorrow, are you then, Matt? You're cancelling your subscription.
Unfortunately, I'm in it for the long haul. I had to pay the annual fee. I had to pay the annual fee, so but it's been good. I've been able to watch a few things that Disney hasn't had their grubby little mitts on. So they actually do have products on there that they haven't had anything to do with. So and that's mostly Japanese anime. So even though that's changing now as well, and it looks like they're going to westernize their the anime, but yeah, no, I'm kind of glad I kept it now, but not for this particular reason, you know.
So did you watch it as soon as it premiered? What time of day did it premiere for you? Was it at a decent time, a reasonable hour, or were you up in the small hours?
I thought it was on at 10, but I just thought, I'll just look online, and it was on at 9. It had actually started at 9 in the morning. So I thought, yeah, well, I've got a couple of hours free. I thought, oh, should I and shouldn't I? So, yeah, no, I just thought, oh, well, I might as well start watching it and, yeah, get out of the way. And I really wanted to turn it off within the first 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You know, I kept it going because I thought, well, I've got 2 hours free. I'm pretty busy for the rest of the day. You know, I'll just I've missed Doctor Who, okay, and I thought
it's a big decision, isn't it? When you've been hurt by something, when you've been pushed away by something, to go back there.
I could live without it, to be honest. I could live without Doctor Who. I thought I will just skip this regeneration and see how it all goes. I may dip back into it if I get good reports, but they never came. so I continued to be out, and I watched it from the sidelines, and I was watching all these good. They were saying that it was really, really good, and I knew that there was just something iffy about it.
Who was they? Who was the
they? On social media, Facebook, and that. I wasn't in the circle I am in now. I didn't know anybody that didn't want to like this show, and so it was like, okay, well, I still don't think it's for me. I'll wait until I get a doctor that I'm actually kind of interested in, you know. But I was just watching all the deconstruction that was going on with the mythos, and it was wearing you down a little bit. I mean, it says here 9 a.m. in Sydney. That's the closest time zone that's listed in the official graphic there. So it's not the best of times, but you jumped on it anyway. You thought, let's get it out of the way, like having a tough out, Simon.
What a brilliant analogy, Barry. Carry on, Matt, because that's kind of perfect. That's exactly how I felt.
I'm just kind of guessing. What's a tough out? Because I'm kind of thinking of something else, maybe.
A tooth.
Oh,
a tooth.
Okay, good. Okay.
What else were you thinking of?
Don't ask.
Oh, God. Matt's lost it already. I think he's lost it.
What do you mean? I don't know. I don't understand these UK-isms.
Yeah. So you jumped on it. You jumped on it right away. Did you watch it on a conventional telly, or were you watching it on your phone or on a tablet? Or
I watched it on TV. Yes, streaming TV. Look, I mean,
you haven't seen it, because obviously you do watch shows, but you're quite careful about the shows you commit to, aren't you? So what were the things you noticed in the time since when you last saw Doctor Who and now? What were the things that struck you about it? Does it seem like, as Russell's been saying, this hugely inflated, ambitious, expanded show? Does it seem any different, or is it just the same with a few more bells and whistles?
Never saw any of that, but I did notice that there was production values. I mean, I've got a new TV, so and I actually got that for the specials. So I could watch the specials because it was Dolby Vision and all that in Disney Plus. So I thought, yeah, let's just splurge. I need a new TV anyway. So, so that's what I ended up doing. But visually, it's beautiful. It is. The special effects, the colors pop, boom, 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 boom. You know, and that's probably what's getting me through this, to be honest. the HD, you know, the whole full HD type experience.
Yes,
you know,
it's the seductive quality like that.
Well, it's in 4K as well, so you know, to see something like that, and probably because we don't get the Blu-rays here or anything like that, you know, it's I wouldn't buy the 4K Blu-rays or anything like that, but at least, you know, I'm seeing what they intended it to look like, you know.
Yeah, you have to cover your eyes during the scary bits, during the a bit like that.
yeah, around the same time. Yeah.
So how about you then, Simon? Obviously, in Britain, the home of Doctor Who, you've got several choices now. You can watch at midnight and then stay up till 2, 3 in the morning to get it all in, to get it all over and done with, or to celebrate. Maybe open a bottle of something and mark the return of your favourite all-time show, or you can wait until Saturday tea time, as is traditional. What did you do?
Well, there was absolutely no way I was going to be watching it before the broadcast, and because I just wasn't interested enough. I wasn't making a special effort to go and find it on iPLAYER. I was actually out for most of the day on Saturday, and it was only because I happened to be back at around about that time that I did end up watching it with my tea. But it was purely because it was on and I was home. I would have happily waited until the next day, the day after, whenever. I was in no rush to see this whatsoever. It was purely that I happened to be there at the time that it came on BBC One, and so I watched both episodes, and I'm booking in for a therapy tomorrow.
So for the people that don't know Simon, I mean, is this unusual for you? You know, when it's something that you really want to see, do you jump on it instantly?
Oh yeah.
Or are you now in a place with TV where you think, you know what, it's always available. What's the rush? Fit it in when it's right for me?
No. I'm very much a case of, if I want to watch it, I will jump on it straight away. Absolutely. I guess it's you know, I'm of an age where I still feel sort of invested in television and film if I want to watch it, and so it doesn't worry me that things are always on iPLAYER or streaming services or whichever. If I want to watch something, I will watch it, and because I don't have a smartphone, I won't be sitting looking at my smartphone while watching. I will be watching the show. I'll be you know, dedicated to the show at that point. So the fact that I barely even caught these 2 episodes kind of says what my enthusiasm levels were like before the 2 hours were up.
So Matt said you got 10 minutes in before you started to regret it. I mean,
I literally got about 30 seconds in, and I thought, I knew this was going to be a bad idea. I shouldn't have. Should I have bothered watching it? Yes, I should. I've got no regrets watching it and wasting 2 hours of my life, because I now can, you know, say with conviction, I gave it a good go. I gave it 3 episodes. I gave it the Christmas one, and I gave it these 2. So I've given the shooty era of the show, I think, a fair crack. And so I've got authority to say that I think it's the worst Doctor Who has ever been.
Wow.
I seriously, at this moment in time, I'd probably rather watch a Jodie episode than this version, which is saying a heck of a lot for me. And that's partially because the Whittaker era was so lackluster and so uncommitted that it just literally rolled over you like tumbleweeds. This one pushes you to the ground, pummels you into loving it. It's an explosion that takes everything out in its path, and so I found it so dislikable, because by the end of 2 hours, I just felt that I had been bludgeoned into loving this show. And the more it bludgeoned me, the more I hated it. Simple as that.
Shouldn't television in this day and age, particularly television that's a mainstream show that's going to grab an audience, shouldn't it aim to sort of grab people's attention, to hold their attention, and to take them somewhere, and to be quite a few? It doesn't have to be an explosion for the senses.
No, but it has to be confident. It does
have to be dramatic and confident. Yeah, but you think that there's a tipping point somewhere?
100% there's a tipping point. You look at Rose, for example, the episode Rose. I'm not a big fan of Rose. I think it's quite a bland episode, but it actually treads the line perfectly. It gets it spot on because it strides out with confidence. It does something interesting. It goes somewhere without forcing you to love it. Whereas by the end of it, seriously, I wanted to throw a bucket of cold water over Ncuti and Millie Gibson just for being so damned excited and excitable. I think they must have been sucking blue Smarties for about 6 months before they even started shooting it. I just wanted to throw cold water at them to calm them down. I was exhausted by them. So yes, a show has to be confident and it has to go out and grab an audience. But you do that through clever writing, through good acting, through good production, through good direction. You don't do it just by basically trying to be a kids show, which is what it's all it was to me. This was CBBC standard, and I know you hate that comparison, Dan, and I apologize, but
I find it, generally speaking, I find that a very lazy comparison, but there are exceptions.
I know you do, and I'm sorry, but I can't find any other. It did feel like a kids show to me.
I mean, my reaction to that is, how much TV have you actually watched? Because usually people who label something like that, when you speak to them, they haven't really watched that much kids TV.
I haven't.
And as I'm somebody who's raised 6 kids, so I've watched a hell of a lot. But why I take it more seriously coming from you is because you've worked in television and you've made television and programming to be consumed for children.
Yeah, and I've worked on kids' TV. I have made kids' TV. And so I don't know, because I know I don't watch kids' TV these days, but it's certainly played out. Space Babies in particular, of course, less so The Devil's Court, but Space Babies in particular played out like I imagine children's television is these days. So I could be wrong on that, but that's how it felt.
These 2 episodes were written by Russell T Davies. It started with Space Babies on Saturday, the 11th of May, 2024. That went out at 6:20 on BBC One there, followed by The Devil's Court again by Russell T Davies at 5 minutes past 7. So that was what made up the double bill. Charlotte, Russell T Davies is a writer. You know, he's one of the most powerful people, certainly in British TV. He must have a global profile. I'd say that even if the average person in America doesn't know who he is, even if they watch a lot of television, then certainly people who work in the industry in America would probably know who he is. This is kind of the project that he can't seem to resist going back to over and over again. We were very excited when he came back, when he started opening his mouth again. That started to drain somewhat, but in for a penny, in for a pound. It's how I look at it. We talk about this show every single week amongst ourselves. You know, how were you anticipating it? When did you watch it, and how?
Well, I enjoyed the Christmas special for what it was for me. I think for me, it got the tone right. It got the level sort of stakes and story for a Christmas special. And I think it did a good job of introducing the Doctor and Ruby. So the bit of me was like, I enjoyed that. But the marketing and the way Russell and Ncuti have been carrying themselves the last couple of weeks, and there's stuff before that with Russell, I would argue, than Ncuti.
It's been a lot, isn't it?
Recent. But yeah, there's been a lot. And then the other half of me was like, I don't have a clue what I'm going to watch when we get into the series. Because even though I enjoyed that Christmas special, it's not going to be a good marker for me, because it's such an isolated thing. It's a starting point episode. And I was sort of in 2 minds going into this it could be good. The writing could be really good. We could have a really good casting here. Or this could be Russell not at his prime, being really ham-fisted, and then having a possible actor that's maybe a bit over, sort of been put in a role that he's not quite ready for yet. He's over in his head almost. So I sort of, like I said, I was 2 minds about it. But because of the double slot and the times, I knew I wouldn't be able to watch it sitting down because that's when I eat. Basically, it's the prime time that my family all eat, so we all eat together. So I knew I couldn't have the sitting down watching with my mum and dad experience. So I was like, I'm going to watch it on the iPlayer. And I watched one, I think, like afternoon. Like there wasn't even a rush, even though I knew it was on iPlayer on the Saturday, to watch it. And then, because without going into lots of detail, Space Babies for me was such a mixed bag in general. I didn't watch Devil's Court straight afterwards. I literally, I think I ended up watching that after my tea on the iPlayer, not on telly, not on BBC One, because Space Babies like left me in a sort of a point where I was like, oh, I'll watch the other one later. So
you weren't bothered about watching the second one then, is what you're saying?
Was this malaise, or were you sort of stunned into kind of, I'm not really sure. Yeah, because it does seem that you weren't exhilarated by it, but you weren't dreading it either. You just sort of...
Yeah, honestly, Space Babies for me, I was seeing the starting I liked with Ncuti, some more of Ncuti that I really liked. Some more of Millie I really liked. The dynamic again, which sort of, but I was won over by the dynamic in the Christmas special. So to see that more, I enjoyed. But some of the writing in that opening episode for me was such... And I get what Simon's talking about. It wasn't kids' telly for me. But there wasn't any stakes. There wasn't any bite. There wasn't any cleverness. It was just a bit, okay, now this happens, now this happens. And like, I would say like this sense of almost, I think that first opening episode, even if it wasn't written like a kids' TV program, it had the sensibilities at times.
That's what I was trying to say.
It was very analog, wasn't it? But in the past, though, we've all complained. I think most of us have complained. So you actually, in particular, about how dense the show could get, particularly under Stephen Moffat.
Yes.
How he would sort of tie himself up in knots.
Totally.
And you got, if ever you talk to members of the public when Moffat was showrunning it, you know, they'd find out that you liked Doctor Who or knew about Doctor Who, and they'd often say how much they enjoyed it, but they'd always go, you know what though? And then they'd ream off a list of things they didn't understand. Yeah. And so this is, I think that Charlotte, you think you're absolutely right. I think that's completely intentional at this point. And I think it's partly to combat that kind of cloud that had gradually gathered around the show and around the mythology, which Chris Chibnall, you know, he kind of added to in a different sort of way. But the identity of the show, the proper identity of the show, not the mythology, the identity of the show and what it's for, I feel that's really been lost, probably since around 2013.
I get what you mean. You don't want to do overcomplicated, but I think there's a middle ground. And I think Russell went too far the other way for me.
Yeah.
And then with Devil's Court, by the end, and this is the positive I can say of those two episodes. For me, Ncuti's now working as the Doctor. I'm starting to see why they picked him. I'm starting to actually enjoy his Doctor. Obviously, it's still early days. We have to see. Still a lot there to develop. But as opening two episodes, I think for him, he's starting to click. So that was good.
Do you think if that's not the reason why they chose, because I don't think it's the reason why they chose to put a double bill on, but it could be a good thing the more time that you get to spend with a new lead actor in a show like Doctor Who, which is powered by its lead actor in particular, eventually he'll sort of win people over.
Because I think for me, in the Devil's Court, some of the more sort of surface level traits of his Doctor sort of got left a bit. And I think in a good way, that you actually started to see, no, here's a Doctor here's Ncuti when he's actually angry, which is what I wanted to see. Here's Ncuti when he's actually sort of having to step up to the plate. Because in Space Babies, he didn't win the day. He literally put himself in danger, and then it got resolved with nothing to do with him. It was everything else that resolved that story.
He was very heroic in Space Babies, though, wasn't he?
He was heroic, but I'm saying as a Doctor sort of he was heroic, but like I said, it was more how everything else sort of fixed itself around him.
It wasn't the Doctor's ingenuity that solved the problem. It was, although he did come up with ultimately something which got everybody safe. Yeah, I do see what you mean.
Whereas at least he was the one who actually faced up against Jinx. He was the one who actually said, right, I'm going to defeat you. This is my plan. And that's what I needed to see off Ncuti. So maybe that's why, because I just felt like in Devil's Court, they played a bit more with his Doctor. They gave him more to do. They gave him more levels. And I actually started to see a bite that I wanted to see. Like I said, that anger, that bite sort of side. Not the smiles, not the cheeky chap that he's sort of been portrayed as.
It's curious. It's curious, isn't it, that. And I was doing this on Thursday, Ian, when we were talking about the Doctor, and I felt as if waiting for the episodes to come at the weekend, as if this was my first chance to see the 15th Doctor. I kept forgetting that we'd seen him for an hour on Christmas Day. Now, you didn't actually watch the new episodes of the weekend, but you did watch the Christmas one, didn't you? So hearing Charlotte talk about it there, I know you've explained at length the reasons why you're not going to continue watching, but has what Charlotte said there particularly made you think perhaps it's worth giving it a look, giving it 5 minutes, or are you listening to Simon and Matt and their kind of regret at having watched it all, or Matt's sort of resigned to the fact that you're committed to this now, aren't you, mate? So it's not not the best of results from the two guys. How's this making you feel hearing this?
I what you call it? I've seen clips on the web, the internet, the interweb.
Yeah,
I've seen clips, and I hated the Christmas special. I thought it wasn't Doctor Who. I thought Ncuti was terrible right across the board. The screenplay was awful. The sets were really good though, and Murray Gull's music was good. That's the only two things I can take from it. But I mean, for various reasons, I really didn't like it, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch this. Plus, coupled with the fact that they were putting in, the message and all that nonsense. I won't be talking about that.
What if I told you, from my perspective, there is no identity politics or wokeism in this barely at all? What would? But there is a giant, and I know you love monster movies. There's a giant monster with great big teeth and lots of goo everywhere, chasing people up and down corridors, and in a real kind of low, in a kind of Ridley Scott for TV kind of way. Does that not tempt you at all, or is that just bells and whistles, and really that kind of thing is neither here nor there for you, because there's so many other things you could choose to watch instead?
No, I'm out with Doctor Who. I'm sorry. I can't.
There's nothing that could sway you at all.
No, for the reason I've mentioned in previous episodes, morally speaking, I can't be watching this because there is stuff in there, even though you disagree that there isn't. But there is. So
well, I watched it. You didn't. There wasn't.
Well, no. You're absolutely right. But that's just your opinion. But other people that I've been speaking,
other people will disagree. I've no doubt. Yeah, but
exactly.
I didn't detect anything of that nature in either episode, really.
Well, that's good,
I guess I think part of the problem is that because of the rhetoric that Ncuti and Davis spouted over the past few months, that really feeds in, and it is difficult.
Bogs it down, doesn't it?
Yeah, because the pair of them are so prevalent and so public and so belligerent in the way they portray themselves. You can't separate it out. You can't. Anything that Davis says is not intended to wash over you. It's intended to hit you in the face, whether you like it or not. That's his intention. Ncuti has kind of become almost his puppet, his mouthpiece. It appears that's certainly the sort of the impression that you get, and so because of that, the show now comes with a lot of baggage, and so you're right, Dan, that there's very little gender politics that's in there, but the bits that was in there, I still groaned and still felt like I was being hit in the face because I know the reasoning behind it, and it's got nothing to do with story, nothing. Literally, the bit of gender politics that is in there in the Devil's Court has zero to do with the story, and everything.
Teeny tiny amount.
Is that where he said them, they, or whatever it was? Because I saw.
Yeah, it's them. It's them.
Teeny. It's like 3 seconds of 50 minutes.
But why is it there, Dan? You still have to question why is it there. It's there purely because Davis wants to hit the viewer in the face with it. It's not there to do the story. And Terence Dix always used to say, everything you do should be in service to the story. And that's not. Yeah. And so because of that...
Here's my opinion on just that, though. And I think you can extrapolate this a little. In that instance, you see, I feel that with that character, the toy maker and Maestro, it seems, is they're of the same... They're of the same origin.
Yes,
they are beings. They're kind of celestial beings. They don't have a corporeal. Yeah, they don't have a corporeal form. They manifest that form almost as an avatar for us to toy with us. So it doesn't really matter. They haven't really got a gender at all. So now, to me, that goes without saying. So that line needn't be in there. But on the other hand, if there's a character that would say that naturally, it probably would be a genderless, formless creature from the ends of another dimension.
Yeah, but the question you ask yourself, Dan, is should they have put that in there? And if
the question is, Ian, did he specifically tell? And I don't know about this. I honestly don't know. Did he choose to tell a story in this instance and the giggle with a character like that because he could drop lines like that, or which came first, chicken or the egg?
I haven't watched this episode, I did see that clip with the boy on the piano, and he was on the piano when he said them and whatever. I mean, that's definitely putting something in there together with what they're trying to do. So again,
it's such a tiny amount of screen time compared to.
But the thing is, that doesn't matter, Dan. That doesn't matter. Yeah,
there's other things too. It's like the whole refugee thing. It's like you may as well.
Thing?
The refugee crisis gets a mention. Well, obliquely again, it's Russell.
It's at the end. Yeah, I mean, you hear words nowadays like. There are several words nowadays, and this is a general point. God, I'm trying not to shut it, but this is how I feel. When I hear words like refugee and climate is another one. When I hear them now in any kind of drama at all, the way I react to them and the images that comes into my head are different to the images that would have come into my head when I heard the word climate 10 years ago or the word refugee.
Yes.
I would argue that the part of that plot is actually nothing to do with refugee, with the refugee situation in Britain that floods that's on our headlines every day. But the fact that we hear that word, I heard that word and thought, oh no, don't go there, and they didn't go there. But the scar tissue is that raw for me, so I can see why people would be sensitized to it. But he didn't go there with it, so does it matter?
He didn't go there with it, but it was a very, very specific sentence of about 10 words, 15 words. It was very specific. It was on the nose. It was, for better words, it didn't worry me desperately because it was only
you see what I'm saying, though, Simon? If we're having to go to like 3 seconds of screen time or little asides here and there, and to sort of rather than the body of the episode, that's not much.
No, you're quite right. You are quite right. But of course, that would be correct if it was that the rest of the show had worked. And so for me, the rest
and for you, it really didn't. For you, it didn't really work, did it?
Not in the slightest.
Let's have a look at some of the comments in the Let's have a look at some of the comments.
Can I just say something? It is. I mean, my reasoning is based on what's gone before. Like the three ones with David Tennant, there were some of that stuff in there. And
yes, there was. Yeah,
the Christmas one, there was. So I come to the conclusion that it's going to be more, and then I see that clip, and then
of course, I get it. Let's have a look at some of the comments in the live chat now, because people are comparing their experiences as well. Marie Claire's World is in and says, "Gosh, I feel like I'm in the minority. I adore Ncuti as the Doctor. Please don't throw me out." Chat. Marie, welcome to the live chat. I know you've been in before. I am very much in line with what you're saying. I'll come to my take in a little while, but you can put me down. I'm very much in Ncuti's camp. I think I've said this publicly already, but I've had a big turnaround with Ncuti as the Doctor as the result of these two episodes. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there who do feel the same way. There is 8-bit Sync Boy here says, I'm just having the plot of the first episode explained to me genuinely made me feel dumber. So did you choose? I gather you didn't watch it then, Sync Boy. But if somebody, it depends. See, in this instance, it depends who's explaining things to you. If they're explaining something that they've watched, and this is generally in a disdainful way because they didn't enjoy the film or TV show, they're not going to give you the best recap.
The thing is, though, Dan, once you explain that the plot is about a monster made out of kids' bogies, I think there's no way of dressing that up. That's what the plot is about. Yeah. And so you're done. That's a kid's show.
Literally a bogeyman. Literally a bogey. And I never even called it the bogeyman. I always called it the boogeyman. And
the plot is resolved by the spaceship farting. I think there's no way of dressing that plot up other than that's what the plot's about.
The thing is though, Simon, I brought that up, and I was immediately attacked, and it was like, well, how else was Ncuti how else was the Doctor supposed to be getting them home? And I'm like, I don't know, put them in the TARDIS or something? Why have a fucking giant fart and a fucking chip, for God's sake?
I've got a bit of a story in lines to that, because like most of my issues are to do with the writing. It's point blank, the writing for me at the moment is not working in chunks. In bits it is. That's what I mean. It's weirdly lopsided. Like it will work for a bit and then it will go, oh God, right, now we're here. And then it will work. And I've got, just to talk to that, I've got somebody at work who watches it as well. So I said to her, oh, what did you think of it? And she just said, and her first thing out of her mouth was, I don't know yet. And I said, oh, so what do you mean by that? And I purposely didn't tell her what I felt because I didn't want to, like you said, without even realising sort of give my opinion and shape hers. And she just went, well, I thought it'd be more serious. The writing's not serious. And then she said that her mum, who doesn't watch the show, watched those episodes with her. They watched them together. And her wording was, my mum had a look on her face like, what on earth is this?
You get that a lot with normies and Doctor Who, or casuals with Doctor Who, don't you?
But she was saying herself, and she's not casual.
Can I say something? Sorry.
Didn't work
on
for her.
Saturday when it was playing, I was in my bedroom, and my brother's a huge fan of Doctor Who, so he decided to watch. I didn't think he connected with. He thought it was going to be David Tennant again, but it wasn't. It was Ncuti. So he watched both episodes, and the only bit I saw broadcast was when I was going to the kitchen to have a drink. Right, so I had to go past the living room because I've got a huge TV, and the bit that I saw was them dancing on table. There was like a big dance number, tabletops and stuff like that. I obviously didn't know which episode it was, and then I just looked at it for a bit, and I thought, no, I can't. This is not Doctor Who. And then I went for my drink and went back into my bedroom and watched something on Netflix, I think. But I mean, if that's the state of Doctor Who now, sorry, I'm out.
I mean, at the state, I think Simon's right, Ian. I think so much of this and the way that we all react, a lot of it is unfortunately not even about what's on screen. It's what's gone on around it before, during, because we're all sort of plugged in all the time online. We're all terminally online, whether we want to be or not. So that doesn't help. You've got, you know, I mean what I say. Ncuti Gatwa is a preening, grinning gonad who seems to have a head full of cotton wool. And then you've got Russell T Davies, who, Simon, you say he opens his mouth. You know, he's big-hearted. He's big-hearted and very talented, but he opens his mouth and rubbish just comes out. And so, just like you say, so you've got all this going on, and then you're expected to concentrate. It's very difficult to concentrate on the actual show. But we've got two comments here in the live chat, and I want to get to some of these comments because a lot of people giving us a lot of good stuff here. We've got a comment here from Super John who suggests that all that sort of wokeism, the political stuff, it's all suggestive and subliminal. So that's really quite an extreme take, John. You know, it sounds, and I'm not saying, please don't take this the wrong way, it sounds a little paranoid. But in the fact, because we've spent years being dripped this stuff into our ears, I can't blame John for feeling that way. And then you've got Jack on the other end of it who says, look, it's one mention, look at the bigger picture. And I agree with you, Jack, in many respects. I agree with you. But on the other hand, I think if you do look at that said bigger picture, what is the bigger picture we're looking at, Matt? Because the bigger picture is the dreaded message. It's the general landscape. We know Disney Plus have an agenda. We know the BBC share that very far left-wing agenda and an investment in an obsession with identity politics. So that's actually the bigger picture. So these two gentlemen, even though they're poles apart, I can see where and how they've got to the place that they have.
I know, but seriously, Dan, what kind of a showrunner would allow their actors to mess up a show like this to actually get?
He doesn't view it that way, though, does he?
Yeah, but yeah, I know he doesn't. But
He's out of touch, so he doesn't understand.
That's what I'm saying, though. You know, I mean, obviously everybody's born with common sense. Some people don't use it, but why would you allow Ncuti to say that stuff? Go and touch grass, you know,
because because he agrees with him.
Look,
it would have been.
Why would you agree?
It would have been the publicity department who signed it off, Matt.
No, look, I mean, I'm just reading Marie Claire's world thing, and the fact of the matter is, it was so schizophrenic. It was, they called him, oh no, it's them, you know, and all this, and then it's like he's calling him daddy, for fuck's sake. I'm sorry, but there's only one daddy, you know, a daddy is a he. I'm sorry to say. And so
who was calling who daddy? Sorry,
the little boy.
Oh yeah. You see, we keep going back to that one scene, and it's such a. In fact, it's not even. It's such a tiny moment.
It goes through it because they still call him he later on in the fucking show. And that's what really irks me. It's like, if you're trying to hammer something fucking home, stick to it. Don't go off onto some friggin' other thing, because it really irks me. It really does.
No, I understand.
I sat through there and watching Ncuti Gatwa, who couldn't act through a fucking paper bag, and it was like I may as well be being hit by a wet fish, for God's sake, in the face.
So when you watched the Christmas one, look at when you let's talk to your point about Ncuti. So you obviously did you see the Christmas special, Matt? And were you on the fence? Were you on the fence? Were you on the fence after that? And this is kind of, now you've got to the point where you think, no, they picked the wrong guy. Is that where you are with this?
The fact of the matter is, I thought he would. Please tone it down, please. But he's on some fucking cloud nine all the time, and I just want him to stop.
It's quite early days.
Be slow. It's been fucking 4 episodes, Dan.
Three and a half,
certainly.
3.5. Okay, let's be pedantic.
No, I'm agreeing with you, Matt. I'm agreeing.
And I'm sorry, even by 3, I was in with Matt Smith. Peter Capaldi, I was in from the very beginning. Yeah. But I'm not getting it from him at all. He is a mincing, horrible actor. And I'm just going to say it. As you've put it, Dan, it's Ncuti playing fucking Ncuti. He's not playing the Doctor. He's playing himself. Put that down as you will, you know. But he is.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you.
That's been my main worry for the last few weeks, Simon. The more we heard of him, because I said it on the show last week and the week before, that I felt it's okay, mate. You feel passionate about it. We're all passionate about Doctor Who. We're Doctor Who fans. You're allowed to be a fan of Doctor Who here. But I've said on the last 2 shows that my biggest worry, Simon, was that Ncuti Gatwa wasn't becoming the Doctor, that the Doctor was just becoming Ncuti Gatwa. You've seen more Doctors come than go now. I mean, how do you feel about Ncuti in that respect?
I think you're totally right. I think he absolutely is playing himself. I must be honest, I now, after 3.5 episodes, I hate his performance so much. I never want to hear another word come out of his mouth again. I never want to see his face again. Even when you just brought up that trailer at the beginning of our show tonight, I was immediate. I sort of got over it for a little while. And you brought that trailer, and he suddenly opened his mouth, and that stupid voice comes out. And I'm sorry, I never ever want to see or hear another thing from this person ever again. If you remember
when
life out of me.
If you remember when he made the comment a few weeks ago about white male gammons, I said that I didn't think I'd ever be able to look at this man the same way after he publicly stated used a racist slur in what I view as a. I'm not saying that Ncuti Gatwa is a racist, but that was a racist statement to make, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to look at him in the same light again. I feel slightly differently now, but I'll come to that in a little while.
I'll just pick up on Jack Bennett has sort of picked up on me saying that stupid voice is literally just his voice. You're quite right, Jack. I do apologise. It is his voice, and I realise there's nothing he can do about it. What I'm saying is that I just never want to hear it again because I find him so irritating to watch.
Dan,
do you have trouble understanding him, Simon? I do.
Look, sorry. Do you remember that when you showed that clip, Dan, a long time ago, before we even saw him as the Doctor, and he was out doing an advert for a car? Was it a car?
Yeah, I think it was for a console game. He was playing. He was playing a kind of Lewis Hamilton, Damon Hill type, wasn't he?
And he was
vaguely
good. He was.
He was great.
There was no. Well, hold on. There was no sign of the accent. There's no sign of Scottish accent. It was just straight on, like what David Tennant got rid of his Scottish accent to play the Doctor. It was straight on. And when I saw that clip, I thought, yeah, maybe this guy could be the Doctor. But that's not how he's playing it, though, is he? So I don't know. I can understand.
No, you're right. He isn't. He is playing it more as himself, which most of the Doctors have played versions of themselves. I want to go back to the live chat for a moment because we have got a lot of comments here. Demorpin says the exposition baffling without giving the new audience who it must have been written for reason to care about any of the info. Very odd. So Demorpin actually thinks it's a little too dense, Charlotte. So is it a point?
I think it's the way it was written because for me, it was very repetitive, and that's another thing that kept coming up for me in the writing in those two.
across both episodes.
Yeah, it's like Ncuti, you've already told me you're adopted in the Christmas special. I don't need to hear it 10 more times in the first episode. Thanks, I got it the first time, and then also space babies. If you took a shot every time Ncuti said that word in that first episode, you'd be in the hospital by the end.
I think what we're seeing there, is a shift in the writing and the kind of writing to an audience, to a far potentially larger world audience in a mainstream show, because they are trying to build the audience for this show. So it's the same as some of the plot elements that were kind of
Americans.
I think you're right. I want to hang on. Let's back up a little bit. I agree with you, sort of, Matt. I think it was written with Americans in mind because America in the West is the biggest marketplace. But I think it was actually written with the same principle for the world audience. But I think they've got the eyes are very much on the American audience simply because it's such a wide market. Matthew Pounder says his performance is too large and there's no subtlety there. Charlotte, I don't agree with that. I'll come to that in a little while. I think it's I think it is a very large performance, but I don't agree that there's no subtlety. 8-Bit says I don't think
there's layers for me already.
He says, I honestly don't think anything of value has been added to Doctor Who's mythology since Chibnall's era. Almost everything seems to be done to insult the original. Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the mythology on Doctor Who has been bogged down probably since 2012, 2013. I think they should leave all that alone. I think we've said this on the show several times, Simon. What they really need to do, successive writers and producers need to do, is forget about mythology completely and just tell a succession of enthralling adventure stories that are ideally going to make great use of this unique format. Forget about mythology. Forget about Time Lords. You know what? I'd forget about Daleks for a couple of years if it was my way as well.
Forget about the Timeless Child.
I don't understand. I mean, unfortunately, we all got it wrong. I think we all got it wrong. Certainly, I will hold my hands up and say I got it wrong because we got asked on this show previously about what do they think RTD will do with the whole Timeless Child, and I said certainly he'll ignore it. Trust me, he won't even mention it. Well, how wrong I was, because oddly, although I think it was in the giggle, he strongly suggested that
it was a retcon in the giggle. Yeah,
yes,
there was an actual retcon in the
he's
giggle.
absolutely doubled. Hold on, Matt. He's absolutely doubled down on it now, and he's completely, held his hand and said, "No, this is absolutely how it is." And why he did it, I don't know, because it doesn't add anything.
I think he is. I mean, again, I don't want to stay with the timeless child mainly because it bores the shit out of me. But,
but unfortunately, he's made.
I think the choice that he's made, whether it's a sound one or not, we'll only know in time. He's chosen to repurpose certain elements of it, which I think is the more reckless and foolhardy option. I mean, the point that I wanted to look at mainly chimes with what Charlotte was saying. Because I think I've said on this show several times, like Simon, I've known you for a very, very long time. You weren't
40 years.
You were no fan, and you won't mind me saying this, you've talked about it yourself, but you were no fan of the original Russell T Davies era either. You didn't like what he did then. And my point with this, right since Russell was announced as coming back, I have always said this on this show. You can go back and check the playlist, 150 episodes. What I always said was, if you didn't like what Russell did back then, there's no reason to suspect you'll like it anymore now. And the same is true in reverse. If you liked what he did back then, odds are you probably are more likely to enjoy what he's going to do this time. And I think that's been, generally speaking, I do think that's been borne out. Good evening, everyone, says Nigel David in the live chat. I'm an hour late, but I'm here now.
Hello, Nigel.
And Frank Cronogues asks, why are there no threats anymore in the episodes? No real danger or peril. Frank, I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I thought there was a lot of danger. I thought there was a lot of jeopardy and peril in both of these episodes. But obviously, it's my opinion. It's my opinion, mate. It's my opinion.
No, I would agree with you, Dan. I think there was threat in there. There was danger. I personally think it was handled badly, and I didn't feel there was much of a danger there. But you're right, Dan. There was danger and threat, absolutely in peril.
See, my thought is, will this is a program that is not exclusively for any of us. It's for us, and it's for the family audience. What will the family audience have made? Will it have been enough for them? Will some of it have been too much for them? I haven't actually got children of the age now for that sort of target audience, like between 8 and 14. So I don't know. I mean, I have got a couple of children in my life, but they don't live with me. So it's not something that I'm right with now. But obviously I have raised 6 children, so I'm pretty good at figuring that sort of stuff out. But I'm very interested for the people who have got children in the live chat. If you watch with your children, let us know. Do you agree with that comment? Was there enough peril and jeopardy, or was there? I think some children would have found the bogeyman very scary, and probably Maestro as well, because it was a very grotesque performance. Cinnamon Toast Crunch CTC says, yes, these weren't very woke. I can't in all seriousness say that these episodes were woke. I think that's a reactionary response.
They were preachy. You're right. They were preachy, but they were not woke. You can't level woke through that.
Brody, we've got a new name in the live chat here, Brody Vanderlei, who says, hi all, I'm a newbie here checking out yet another discussion of this new Doctor Who. Happy to have you here.
Hello, Brody.
Hello. We've got Clobby into Paul Coastland says there's several people, the messages in there too. I didn't see any messaging about abortion in that episode whatsoever. I'm not. YW says I'm not too happy with it right now either. So another one that mentions abortion and asylum seekers and Matthew.
Abortion. I'm not saying that there wasn't abortion in comments in there. I am interested to know. I can't remember abortion comments.
I think what happened.
I didn't see any either.
In the Space Babies, it's more to do with life and protecting life.
It's
and
like people having unwanted children.
That's what I think the core. So for me, that isn't political. But
I would agree.
Not remotely.
I think it
to do what you're talking
more
about, Dan,
social
because of the times we've had the last 5 years. I think that idea of having a bit of an exploration of protecting life and whether you should and sort of that, which I think Russell was doing some in that opening.
Yes,
Space Babies.
that's what it was about. Yeah, that's what it was about. Yeah,
I think it was definitely there, and for some people, that's now become political. I think that's honestly what's happened.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is where, you know, as critical as I am, no, I have to let that one go simply because I would look at something like the Green Death and say the allegory to abortion was about this on the same level as the allegory to the environmental issues raised in the Green Death. So no, I don't think that can be leveled as being wokery. Personally, I think that is social comment.
Like it.
Jack Bennett says, loved both episodes. Space Babies was a fun romp. Devil's Cord was amazing. Jinx was incredible. Thanks for the comments, Jack. I don't think I've seen Jack in the chat before. Welcome to Type 40. It was in the very... Yes, Paul Toastland. Yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from, Paul. I get it, mate. I get it. We've got Monk of Magnesia is also in the live chat. The baby episode was the leftist pro-abortion. I can't keep saying. I'm sorry, I didn't see it at all. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but if it was there, it must have been very, very subtle. Pronouns just wind. I think pronouns just wind people up. Full stop. Which I do understand.
And that's why what I'm saying is that whole pronouns bit was deliberately put in by Davis to wind people up. That's why he's using it, and so that's why I say it's got nothing to do with the story. Davis should just move away from him and just stop winding people up with them. We get it. We know what.
Yeah, I'm trying not to get too bogged down with the minutiae and individual pieces and bits of casting. You know, like for example, Jinx Monsoon. You know, we've talked at length about the casting of Jinx Monsoon and why they were cast, who they are, and all that kind. And we'll revisit that in the future. Absolutely, because we will be reviewing episodes in depth on the podcast. Mark's Stuff personal page. How personal is that, Mark? Do we really want to know? Maybe not. We'll just stick to his comment here. He says, I think current Doctor Who will be gone within 3 years. The TV show, the magazine, the only thing that survives will be Big Finish doing classic based stuff. So Mark is, I think Mark, we'll put you down as undecided, Mark. Happy to have you here at Type 40 Live.
I think Mark could be right. I think 5 years. I'm giving it 5.
I think that things are going to change, Simon. Yeah, I think we're now at a place now where things are going to start disappearing and changing. That's a conversation for another time as well. Luke Robb says, I thought both episodes were fun and easy viewing. Nothing amazing, but enjoyable still. I enjoyed the dynamic between the Doctor and Ruby. The Doctor and companion dynamic it's kind of like Lois Lane and Clark Kent, isn't it? Or if you don't get the chemistry right between the two people leading it, then you haven't got a show, have you? With something like Doctor Who.
Any chemistry at all.
I didn't think they got chemistry.
I'll rephrase that. It's not a Doctor and companion relationship. I see it more as two companions having a relationship.
Yeah, good point, actually, Matt. That's really good. I think you're right.
I was saying the same thing to my brother the other day about this. I don't think I sort of agree with you up to a point. I don't think they have.
You don't agree with him.
I don't think they have. Well, I can't agree 100%. I don't agree. Absolutely. I don't agree with everything I say, let alone everything else. So where I am with that is, I don't think the chemistry between Ncuti and Millie is as natural as they're making it out. I think they're working. I think they're actually working. I think it's there on screen, but I think they're actually having to work to get there. And that's why at times it's a little OTT. At times.
I must be honest. I thought it was OTT right the way through. It just felt very laboured for me. They felt like they were trying very, very hard to be seen as having a fantastic time, and
manufactured is a good word. Yeah.
I think it's the screenplay. I think the problem lies within the screenplay. Especially
it's the direction as well. It was the direction as well.
Well. It all starts. The screenplay is the basis for building the house, isn't it? So. I'm only talking about the Christmas special, obviously.
Well, to be honest, it is different in the episode. In these two episodes, a lot of it is.
What I'm saying is, I think, I said I haven't seen them, but I think basically, if you get the screenplay right, then everything should fall into place. It just seems like for the Christmas special, they didn't, and what everybody is saying now, it sounds like the same thing, that they didn't get the screenplay right at all. But anyway. I shall let you talk because I haven't seen them. So there you go.
Simon Anthony in the live chat. Still with us, Simon. He says, I had to watch 3 times. before my anger at the triggers could be worked through. I see it much more clearly now, but it took a lot of work and was worth it. So, Simon, I mean, I'd love to know what were triggers for you, and what were they triggering? Because generally, you're a very optimistic person when it comes to this stuff, you know. So, elaborate if you wish, by all means. But thank you for your contribution again. Just very bad TV in general, says TARDIS Travel. So, it needs a reality bomb, says Andy Kidd. So that's not good either. Super John says, Ncuti and Millie have good chemistry. It's the writing that is bad, and the intention of the writer putting in agendas. Again, we're back to agendas. I mean, I'm not. Again, Russell T Davies had agendas, albeit with a small a, in 2005. He did, and they used to. Yes. They were things, and there were moments, and there were lines where they never spoiled an episode for me. But now and again, he'd say something or mention something, and I'd roll my eyes, but it would never fracture the enjoyment for me. And that's very much the place where I find myself back in now. I seem to have been, and yeah, that's the place I'm at now. I feel it's not exactly sort of business as usual, because I think it's a different version of the same show that he's given us, but you can absolutely tell it's the same geezer writing it. Demorpins, lots more comments here as well. Thank you for all those. Charlotte, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, well, when there was literally a scene, and I understood why he had to do it, but there was a scene in the Space Babies which was almost word for word what he did at the end of the world with Rose.
Yes.
And I was like, Russell, you've been in the industry longer now. You're older, you're wiser. You should be anyway. Could you not have thought of a different way to portray what you were trying to, than to literally I think maybe I picked it up more because 2005 was my starting point with this show, and those sort of early Eccleston episodes. I'm very they've stuck with me. They have stuck with me. So to have a scene for me, which was really almost word for word, not far off. Anyway.
I'd say Charlotte, to be fair, this is the reason why you don't have a showrunner come back and do the whole thing over again, because he's going to repeat himself.
Which is
Charlotte, I have no idea what you mean.
Your mum, Ruby. Call your mum.
Oh, what is it? What's wrong? What have I done now? Mum? Oh, this red top's falling to bits. You should get your money back. Go on. There must be something. You never phone in.
I'll catch up with you in a minute. That was my mum on Christmas Eve.
I think that's amazing. You want to see the bill?
Really?
Good to know it wasn't just me then.
What? He did that?
She actually says that again too, doesn't she,
Wow.
Millie? Millie actually says, I'd hate to see the bill.
Yes,
I just want to say as well, you can find a link to Doctor Who Poop in the description to this video as well. Go and check out their videos on YouTube, and please tell them that Type 40 sent you. Yes, obviously there are little things in both episodes, I think. In fact, I think in all three, but it was strongest in Space Babies, where he did. I think the idea is if it worked before, they're aiming for this much more a wider marketplace. We're 20 years on, so the odds of the people that they're trying to get to watch this, the odds that they've seen Rose or the End of the World, maybe not that high. So why not kind of revisit the same material? It is just a line here or there. I'd rather he didn't as well, but in some ways I can see why he did, almost as a homage. You know, the original show started homaging itself a lot sooner than 19 years in, for example.
It was awful, though.
I thought. I must be honest. I was mildly irritated by the rip-off of Pyramids of Mars in The Devil's Cord, the scene which is just lifted directly out of. Is it the Devil's? Yeah, it is the Devil's Cord.
So for the people out there who aren't classic series fans, Simon, what do you mean there?
What we're talking about there is when Millie says, you can't be right because we know that this doesn't happen, because I'm from 2024 and we know that it's all resolved. And so the Doctor pops her in the TARDIS and takes it back to 2024 and shows Millie this devastated landscape, because that's what will happen if they don't stay in 1963 and solve the problem. And that it's virtually a word for word retread of the exact same scene in Pyramids of Mars, where Sarah says exactly the same thing and the Doctor does exactly the same thing and takes her back to her point of origin and shows her a devastated world, and they have to go back. So I just found that that was lazy to me, in that I understand maybe why you want to address that issue as a writer and cover it, but I just feel it's lazy that you can't find a different way of saying it, rather than just basically ripping off a much better writer than yourself.
You see, I mean, you could say, I understand, I do, but I also see why that's 50 years ago. I'd say it could count as a homage rather than a rip-off. I don't think it was meant. Let's put it this way: I don't think that he thought that we wouldn't notice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, could be. But as I say, I think if he was a cleverer writer, a better writer, he would have come up with a different way of doing that, rather than having it quite so on the nose. I do think I fear that this is just a writer who has run out of ideas. And I said this 3 years ago when he was brought back, that he left because he's run out of ideas. And I don't know why we kind of thought that he would have got more ideas in the meantime. Did he buy them on Amazon or something? I don't know. Can you just buy ideas? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just against him from the day one, and yeah, I'm still against him being there.
We've got lots of questions about each individual episode and the various elements of casting and things like that, which we simply haven't got time to get into all of those, because some of them are subjective as well. Marie Claire, she liked what Jinx Monsoon was doing. You know, other people, it was just far too much for them, far too theatrical. But then again, it was a theatrical episode. And one of the things that we do often as Doctor Who fans that we say we like, you know, I would rather they not make episodes like that. It's not to my taste at all. But one of the things that we say as Doctor Who fans that we like so much about the show is the flexible format, is the fact it can go anywhere, is the fact it can shift tones and to play with things like that. We have PB Props in the live chat who says, hello chats, there's a lot of talk about Who at the moment, but all for the wrong reasons. Out in the real world, I don't know of anyone who actually still watches it. Now I feel this is a really interesting point, because I think we've all become a little bit more atomized recently, Ian, over recent years. I think even before the coof and the lockdowns and all, I think it was going that way anyway, where people were spending more time indoors, less time with other people, and working strange shifts and just being less social creatures. You mentioned the fact that your brother was watching it in the house, so you know you've got a viewer still there under your roof, but some people haven't, have they? And with a lot of us working from home now as well, you know, we're less like to have those conversations about TV over the water cooler or the photocopier. So even all of that's changed. I mean, I do know of stories. I've got anecdotes about people in my life who watched it at the weekend, and I have to say they're mostly pretty positive. As with everything with Doctor Who, there's a couple of people who were bewildered as well, and there's a couple of people who were just, oh, you know, it's still shit, isn't it? People who've never liked it, who never will. No. You know, so I think there's the gamut is still being run with the British public. But what do you think about the comment here? I mean, your brother watches it, but do you think, generally speaking, it's just fallen out of favour?
Yeah, my brother's not watching it anymore though. He after the 2 episodes, he said it was shit. Basically, he said he didn't want to watch it anymore. In fact, you know, Richard's he's got Asperger's, so he got pretty excited when was it Cilla Black came on, because obviously he liked Cilla Black. He was like, she looked nothing like her. Kept going on about 15 minutes, and I didn't even know Cilla Black was in
like her, though.
You know what I mean? So anyway, but the thing is though, yeah, my brother's he said he's tuned out. Then again, he might be watching it next week. I don't know, but I don't know anyone that watched Doctor Who, to tell you the truth, and I know quite a lot of people, and yeah, I think that's where it's going now. That people just it's not in the Richter scale anymore. Doctor Who, as the show, is it? So
do people, but in the same way, Ian?
Yeah.
Do people still talk about TV in the way that they did.
Well,
they do.
Well, you've heard of Baby Reindeer, right?
Only from you. I've only heard about that from you. But there have been shows earlier this year. There was that thing on ITV about the post office thing. A lot of people were talking about that. And Line of Duty was another show. A lot of people. But one thing I've noticed as somebody who's really into TV and has been for years is that there are fewer shows that catch people's imaginations and that get people talking, Matt. In Britain, there are far, far fewer shows, but when they do, people jump on them like starving people sort of jumping on a McDonald's or something. It gets really, really loud, and you have to see this. It gets like that. The rest of the time, it's nearly flatline.
Do you know what, though? Seriously, I think TV now is for people in their later stage in life. Like my mum watches TV all the time.
I agree.
She doesn't watch BBC. She watches a lot of tennis and Judge Judy and Texas Reindeer Walker, whatever he's called, that kung fu thing, and and she loves all that old stuff because it's a comfortable glove to wear, isn't it? That kind of stuff. But I don't think I'll give you an example, right? So this is how the new generation watches stuff now. So my nieces wanted to watch The Thing, right?
Yes.
John Carpenter's The Thing. So they sat there, right? And the first 20 minutes is a bit slow, right? So they're on their phones, right? The first monster turns up and they're glued to the screen. And then there's that scene, right, where, when they were cutting for the blood.
Yeah.
Right. They was my niece was so tense. She grabbed the control and she sped it up. I was like, "What are you doing?
Couldn't take it.
You couldn't take it."
So people can still watch. They can still watch stuff that grabs their attention.
Yeah, but they can't face attention. It seems like kids can't face, I don't know, tension or anything that's kind of.
Oh, okay.
Bad,
I think there's a bit of certainly in Britain, there's a bit of a nanny state that's taken over a little bit. Monk of Magnesia is in the live chat and says the captain of the baby ship is a female person of colour. Well spotted. I'd spotted that too. What? We've got Paul Shawnee in the live chat as well. Hi, everyone. I'm very sad. Why are you sad? You're here at Type 40 Live, Paul, across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Ann Austin, I must apologise, Ann Austin, I can't pronounce your surname, are not fans of Doctor Who. We're all Doctor Who fans. I think you probably are too, because you've got a Doctor Who icon.
That's what I'm saying. He's got Doctor Who icon, and he's not a fan.
People are fans. People are fans in different ways.
It's probably saying that they're fans. Maybe we're saying we're not fans because we're maybe, I don't know, being critical. I don't know.
It's nothing we haven't heard before, Ann Austin, but please stick around and maybe watch some of our other content. I think you'll find that we are huge Doctor Who fans. John Yordan says it's the same as the guy who runs Star Trek. It's fashionable to hate your audience. Again, there's so much reactance that's built up to these people, and I completely get it, John. I totally understand. Again, Archibald Lazarus says Ncuti hasn't got the screen presence or gravitas for the extra eccentricity. He's just some random dude off the street. And going back to something that you mentioned, Matt, I wanted to pick up on from earlier on, because I do want to talk a little bit about the Doctor. I think you're right. I think Ncuti as well, even though he's 32, coming 33 years of age, he looks so much younger. He looks the same age as Millie Gibson. I know she's like 20. He looks a lot younger than he actually is. And so they do look kind of like siblings or like two kids and that's why that tagline, Cosmic Joyride, they look like they're a couple of kids who've stolen the TARDIS and gone on a joyride in it.
Yes.
And I think I know that's not the performance, that's the perception of the character, but I think that's a tall order for people to fight. If they both look so young, we're supposed to believe he's this ageless alien being, it's going to be easier for some than others, isn't it? Some people won't have a problem with that, but I think a lot of us classic fans probably will, Matt.
I'm just trying to think, Simon would probably know this more than me. In the classic era, how many times did the Doctor turn around to a companion and say, "Where would you like to go?" Which, because to me it was always random. The TARDIS took you where, he pretended he controlled it pretty much.
I think it kind of started in the 2005 series.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is in there. I mean, I must be honest, that in itself doesn't worry me. It's just a way into a story. I don't have a problem with that personally.
Yeah, but you get the feeling that in between the adventures, he did take them places, wonderful places.
Oh yeah, totally.
Oh yeah. But I mean, he could never actually take them to where they wanted to go.
He can't fly the TARDIS half the time. That's why.
Yeah.
Live and Splame here says that he's not an actor. I think we have to disagree there. He clearly is an actor with some successes.
Understanding him, that's for sure. So he's not. He's not as.
He's an actor. I think we have to acknowledge that this is an actor with some successes behind him. He wasn't somebody who was picked out of a bus queue. He's not somebody that I'd seen before.
In all honesty, it wouldn't matter if he had been picked out of a bus queue. Mark Hamill was picked out of a burger bar. That in itself is not really a problem. You're an actor if you work in professionally as an actor. Can he act? That's a different question. I think he can act. In the same way that I think Jodie Whittaker can act, but as is always the case, you've got to be cast in the right part. And do I think Ncuti is miscast? Yes, massively, unfortunately, so far, I'm afraid. And I think Millie Gibson is also massively miscast. I'm sorry.
Is this something that you've come to after now watching 3, or have you felt that way since the beginning?
No. I genuinely have not felt that way since the beginning. After 3.5 episodes, I don't feel. I feel that Millie Gibson had some nice moments. There is no denying that. But you look at Billie Piper from 2005, and the reason I'm comparing it to that 2005 series is because Davis is sort of inviting us to make the comparisons by calling it season 1 and rebooting it, and so that's why it's inviting that comparison. And as you look at she looks beautiful. I think the camera loves her, as they say. But as I said, you look at Billie Piper. You look at Billie Piper in that first 2005 series and the 2006, and she's magnetic. You can't take your eyes off her. And yet Millie Gibson, I'm sorry to say, she has some lovely moments. She'd be brilliant in Hollyoaks, or I'm sure she was perfect in Coronation Street. She's not, personally, I don't think she's right to carry a lead role in Doctor Who. I'm sorry, I don't.
See, for me, I think some of the issues people are having, and once again, it's back to the writing, but to be fair, I think we've got to remember, these are the first 2 episodes, and traditionally, the stakes are lower. I will happily admit that. But I think what we need to see is them in a real they have to use their wits. They have to use everything like they can to get out of a situation episode. And that's why actually on Saturday we're having Boom, which is Moffat's episode. And the premise makes me think, maybe they'll have actually more to do in this. They'll actually not have stuff sort of waved away for them or just happen to happen in the right time, which was a little bit of the issues as well for me.
Well, Charlotte, the thing with New Doctor Who under Russell T Davies originally and then Stephen Moffat afterwards, I've always felt is that most of those seasons, I think there was only one season where it didn't quite come together. Most of them, I think, regardless of how we feel about each individual episode, generally speaking, when we take a step back from them and when a season is over and we think, we reflect and we think, how was that season of Doctor Who? Am I counting the months until the next one? I think my take was always that each season of Doctor Who under those 2 showrunners was always more than the sum of its parts. So each individual episode, some of which were more to my taste than others, kind of pulled its weight. And even if you might have enjoyed it so much at the time, or you might wait for one because your favourite writer's doing it, or it's a guest star that you like. Generally speaking, if it all feels like it comes together at the end, you can look back on it and think that was a televisual experience that I want to do again next year. We've had 8 isn't very many, but I think Simon's probably I think Simon, and I can see why the gentlemen here I think they probably have seen enough to make an informed decision.
Yeah,
but it's going to be different, isn't it?
I think, like I said, if we count the Christmas special, I would argue on the 3 on the run now, we have had the more lighter side of Who, writing-wise. We've had the more sort of fantastical side of Who, the more sort of not the hard stuff yet. Do you know the hard-hitting stuff yet? And I just, a bit of me thinks, I think one of these 2 opening episodes should have gone a little bit away from the lighter side of things. Even if it was just for some of the episode, just have that sort of different type of pace, different kind of tension, different kind of writing, just for one. And then you could go back to if we wanted to do a more lighter one. That's and a bit.
Well, that's sort of what I mean. So if they keep doing that and running that gamut, ideally, you know, certainly by this time next year when we get another season of it, we should see an evolved version of the general premise, of the tone of these 2 characters. Because when you look back, you know, how loved were the Ninth Doctor and Rose Tyler 2 episodes in?
Yeah.
You know, it took 2 episodes for me to not so much Billie Piper. I think I warmed to her instantly. I was fascinated by what Eccleston was doing initially, but it took me until the end of the world to think, oh, okay, it's the Doctor. This is it. This is Doctor Who. And I think that it's going to be variable for different people. So, I mean, again, whilst I'll stand up for anybody who's out from this point, I think that's fine. I couldn't bail on an incarnation of the Doctor at this point because I've seen people get it right away. Like Ian's always saying about Matt Smith. Matt Smith got it right out the gate. I don't think Chris Eccleston did, and yet I came to love him just as much. In fact, I prefer Eccleston to Matt Smith personally. So it just goes to show that different actors, it's not going to be the same for every actor.
I think with Eccleston, because it took a while for you to warm up, I think that was very much on purpose with Eccleston's Doctor because of the whole PTSD sort of soldier recovering angle.
Yeah.
Because of that, they had a mystery instead with Eccleston.
Do you know what? I think you're wrong.
Ncuti,
I think you're wrong there, Charlotte. I think they didn't write for Chris Eccleston. I think that was the main problem. They wrote a different version that wasn't Chris Eccleston. If you look at the 11th hour, it's obvious that Moffat wrote for Matt Smith.
Yeah,
he saw Matt Smith, he spoke to him, he wrote for Matt Smith, and that was the problem with Chris Eccleston. He was trying to crack jokes when it didn't suit who he was as a person or as the Doctor, and I think that's the main problem. It's always the writing at the end of the day. Sorry to have interrupted you. Sorry.
I know what you mean. Like, I would argue Matt had a more consistent idea from the get-go with his Doctor than Chris, because there was sort of moments, but I'm just saying, because of that idea of you not quite knowing, like, I think, like I said, for me, they had that whole PTSD angle. That's why he sort of was almost in the background a little bit at the beginning, and then you saw more and more of his Doctor, but you had a mystery. And because for Ncuti, the mystery is not really with Ncuti this time, it's with Ruby. Like, it's very clear that that's the sort of ongoing sort of thread that you want to follow. I think that Russell is very clearly that.
I do think that there's more than one, but I think the Ruby one is a short-term thing.
I got the idea of this first series.
I think that's the theme of the first season. Not necessarily what ties those 2 characters together, but what fascinates him about her, as we saw at the end of the second one, and why she has latched onto him. Because it's a kind of it's a play on something that Rose, a decision, a crossroads that Rose came to in Father's Day. We got there a lot earlier in this, and we come to a similar moment a lot faster, and the Doctor's arguably even more abrupt with Ruby than he was with Rose. In fact, he's far firmer. But I think there's themes, and I think there's arcs to both characters. And it seems to me that there is stuff there with the Doctor, but because they want him to be there for 3 or 4 years, they've just got more time to keep them rumbling along in the background, and to just see if they're not going to take the time to see what the audience respond to, because we know they've already filmed 2 seasons, then they're probably taking time to see which material Ncuti performs best better, which fits with him. And I think, actually, I think you're right, actually, Ian. I think that perhaps he hasn't taken the time to tailor it to the actor in the way that Moffat did with Smith. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know they're filmed out of order.
I personally think that Russell T has definitely lost it as a writer. I mean, I did like his era of Doctor Who. Yeah, there was bits creeping in, as Simon says, right? But the thing is, I think now he's, as I said, based on the Christmas special, he's definitely lost it. There was logic holes everywhere in that script, and it just didn't work for me. So, hopefully Moffat would write a cracking one on Saturday, and you guys would be, far more ecstatic that episode than the last two that's gone. Because I think Charlotte's right. All they need is an episode where there's something serious and the stakes are high. Because you know what? I was watching Space 99 today, which was playing live on YouTube, and that was a kid show. That was Saturday mornings, and God, that episode was serious. It was about this thing coming from space taking over people. People were dying. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you watch this, and you got like a creature eating babies and stuff.
I know. I do think part of the problem was that first episode, which I know you're going to go into greater depth in a review show, but really, the minute those babies appear on screen and there's a really bad CGI effect as their mouths are moving, it's just excruciating to watch. And I just think that was a catastrophic misstep on Davis's part, to think that he could actually get away with that as an opening episode that would get people saying, yeah, like this show. It was just such a gamble. It was a big ask. It's just
making big visual swings. I mean, I liken the church on Ruby Road, which I'm going to have to start calling Ruby Road because it's just too long. Ruby Road I liken to Rose, and Space Babies I liken to the end of the world. I think that, and I'm convinced that this series, which was originally supposed to all run directly after Christmas. I mean, they even recapped the end of Ruby Road at the beginning of Space. It seems very clear to me that it was originally meant to run from January through to the end of February time. And I think it's a pity that they weren't able to do that, because obviously they talk about Christmas again in this one. Cybermat Strikes is in the live chat here on YouTube. Hi, good to have you back. Cybermat Strikes and says, I like the new Doctor, dislike the actor's comments. Again, people can't get over this, and I completely see why. I think he's probably people aren't gonna forget that.
No,
people will not be able to forget that. I've been able to, surprisingly, but I'll completely. You'll get no judgment from me if you can't, because it was such a strong thing to say, such an unnecessary thing to say. I wish. People saying, "I wish somebody would come in I wish there was somebody competent on staff." I have a feeling that Russell is trying to do something big with Ruby and the TARDIS, sussing her out. Well, that's the plot that Charlotte was referring to. Again, it's that story about who is Ruby and what's her nature and what's tying her to the universe. I like the snow that's sort of following her. I like the fact that there's new visual ideas we've never seen before, Matt, because this is what I liked about Russell. This is what I like about Russell T Davies and his take on Doctor Who. Big visual ideas that you would see in a comic book, an animated movie, or a comic strip. It's very, very graphic. He's a cartoonist, just like you and I are. And he scribbles down a lot of visual things, and I think he does his own storyboards up to a point, and I think that's why I like it so much. His take on Doctor Who is so similar to mine, and I can imagine him sort of scribbling that out and giving it to the effects guy. This is what I want. Make it look like that. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it won't. Doug Sims says, I agree with Dan. Thank you, Doug. I have, to my surprise, been turned around regarding Ncuti. Not the man, but the actor. Again, just like Cybermat Strikes, Doug is able to separate the two. Some people aren't, and that's just human nature, and that's something program makers should take into account.
I can value him as a person and as an actor, and I can't. He just doesn't permeate anything to do with the Doctor whatsoever to me. And plus, I think it may be also the fact I have so much issue with his accent. I cannot. I have to have the subtitles on when I watch him. I cannot understand a thing he says, and that's not a racial thing or anything like that. It's just an.
He has got a very distinctive. He has got a very distinctive voice. Does anybody else have the problem that Matt has?
I don't have the problem understanding it, but as I have said, I'm sorry. I do find it irritating. I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but I do find his voice irritating. I can't get over that.
The question is, I don't understand why you want to give Ncuti a pass for being racist. If Tom Baker had said that stuff, you'd never give him a pass because he's white. So this is where it's to me, this is one of the reasons why I'm not going back, because of these things that people simply just ignore.
Well, as I said, Ian, I'm not giving him a pass. I think the distinction I want to make is: do I think Ncuti Gatwa is an out-and-out, deliberate and actual racist? No, I don't. But I do think that was a prejudiced, racist statement that he made a few weeks ago. I think he is a preening, grinning gonad, a largely empty-headed actor who performs and smiles for the camera. I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy, but just says things either because he thinks that they're the things he should say or without properly thinking them through. I don't know. I think he's old enough to know better at 32, but some people age and gather wisdom, accrue wisdom faster than others. I think that's where I am with it. I can forgive because I don't think he's it. What do you think? Am I making sense to anybody else? I don't think he's a racist, but I think it was a racist thing to say. I thought it was a prejudiced thing to say.
Yeah, but if a white person had said that, you would call him a racist, right? Come on, you can't.
It depends on the context. It depends on the context.
What context? He said a racist statement too. In fact, what are you talking about?
I'm going to have to go. I'm going to get that in quickly.
Good night, Charlotte.
Charlotte, thank you again for your company. We'll see you on Thursday for more of this nonsense.
See you on Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
I think it is difficult because William Hartnell as an actor has literally oddly been torn apart within the canon of the show itself for being racist. So it does seem odd. Yeah. We do seem to be not us. Society seems to be selective in choosing what is seen as racist and what isn't. Because say William Hartnell vilified for being a racist. Good point. Not vilified for being a racist. I can't understand that. I can step back from it. I must be honest. I'm the same as you, Dan. I am able to step back from it and look at the performance in its own right and say, is it a good performance? And that's where, as I say, for me, it falls down. But I am able to separate the two. Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't have been watching the episodes at all. But I was able to separate them, to look at them and make my own mind on the performance alone.
I haven't seen him in the thing that Russell T wrote, but as I said just now, that advert, that's when I thought, okay, maybe he could be the Doctor. So that means he can act. So where's it gone wrong? Is it the direction? Is it the writing?
I honestly think it's personally, I think it's in, as I say, he's miscast. He's simply not right for the role of the Doctor, in the same that Jodie Whittaker wasn't right for the role of the Doctor. I just don't think he has the acting chops to carry it off. Then it's that there's a problem then with the writing. And then there is also, looking at the last two episodes, to me, there's clearly a problem with the direction, because as I say, they're just letting him be far too.
He's clearly not a natural fit for the character in the way that I think most other Doctors have been. Most, not all. Again, I keep coming back. It seems like a ridiculous comparison to make, but I liken him a lot to Christopher Eccleston. I don't think Christopher Eccleston was a natural fit for the character either, but he did manage to get there, and pretty quickly too.
Interestingly, in the chat, Liven's Flame says he's not even companion material. Well, now that's where I actually might disagree, and I might say, and I said the same thing about Jodie Whittaker. She would have possibly made a great companion. Ncuti would possibly make a great companion. I think he's more of a fit as a companion than he is as the Doctor.
William Jennings asks, I'm worried, he says, I like Type 40, Matt, but what happens if I'm not sure if I want to watch Doctor Who?
Look, we leave it to you guys if you want to watch Doctor Who. And in fact, I think this is great because, look, Dan likes the 2 episodes. I don't. I didn't watch
I haven't said that bit yet.
All right. Well, Simon doesn't like it. Matt doesn't like it. But this is the thing about Type 40. all views are welcome. Seriously, it's just look. I'm not going to put you down if you like it. Do you know what I mean? What right do I have to do that? You know?
And William, I would say that the simple answer is there. What happens if I'm not sure if I want to watch Doctor Who? It doesn't matter one way or another. You decide whether you want to, decide whether you don't. Simple as that. Yeah, and you can still like Type 40, whatever you do, mate. So don't worry.
This is where we talk about the past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who, the classic series, the new series, and the all-new series. And we mix it all up. That's what we do. This is as much about our friendship and this show and the community, everybody out there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, X, everywhere we stream this to, and every comment that we get. It is, Doctor Who is more than just the TV show that's on in the here and now. I think, Matt, you probably know that better than anybody else, as somebody who made that conscious decision to not watch your favourite show for several years. But Doctor Who was still in your.
It really hurt.
But Doctor Who was still in your. But it was still in your life, wasn't it? In other ways.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God, yes. Yeah. I mean, I still collected the DVDs. I still collected everything. You know, I still bought figures. Had nothing to do with the current era whatsoever. But you know, the one thing that's really, really irked me about this whole new series is I think that Ncuti is having a bit more input than what he should. And like you were saying about with Russell writing these scripts, because he's not writing love and babes, you know, and give me the loving and that. That's all Ncuti. You can see that that's all Ncuti. So and this is where it's it doesn't even work for modern times. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
Well, I never liked. Do you remember when the Ninth? Again, I do liken this to the Ninth Doctor quite a lot. I never liked all the Mancunian inflections. You know, somebody's dead nice or something's dead good. I just think it pins the character down too much. In that instance, it was down geographically pins the character down too much. Capaldi's Doctor did that as well. Playing it as a Scotsman, as if he was from Scotland. I think that's a mistake. And I think that Eccleston's Mancunianisms were also an indulgence. And here with Ncuti's Doctor, all that babes and hun and all that kind of thing, it's not a deal breaker for me, but it very much lands on my ears in the same way. Is that something that an ageless Time Lord would say or would pick up, would find it amusing to use in conversation? I'm not sure that it wouldn't. I felt the same way about Eccleston's language too.
Do you remember when Matt Smith went, "Who's the man?" And he goes, "I'm never going to say that again." Do you know what I mean?
I think you're right. I do think you're right, Dan. And this is where, as I say, I'm coming from when I say I just don't see the Doctor yet at all. Partially it's in the casting, partially it's in the writing, partially it's in the direction. I just don't see the Doctor. No, the Doctor wouldn't say those kinds of things. The costume, I know we've talked about the costume before now. The lack of costume, I still think is a major misstep. You can't identify with this character as the Doctor because he changes his character. Well, so far he's changed his character about 4 times on screen so far. So it kills any continuity. It doesn't help you feel invested in it, and that's why he is beginning to feel more like a companion. This does feel like, I think Matt hit the nail on the head. It feels like 2 companions that have stolen the TARDIS. That's what it sounds like. They've kicked the Doctor out, and they're on the joyride. That's what it feels like to me. There we go.
No, I do very much agree when I see them together, and the energy of the show is different and tuned up, and maybe we will dig deeper, and maybe it will expand. As I say, it is early days, and what we're seeing, I think, is very much bare bones, bread and butter Doctor Who, which I don't think we should be hypocrites. Well, okay, that's the wrong word. I don't think we should forget that in many ways we have been asking for the show to be pared back to the basics of traveling in time and space and having adventures with your best friend. This is something that we've been asking for several years, since Capaldi left, maybe even before then, when Stephen Moffat started bogging the series down with mythology and overwriting things. I think this is something that we've wanted for a while. But it depends. It depends on the form that it's ultimately delivered. It's not going to work for everybody, is it? Doug says you're right, Simon. Russell T Davies borrows many ideas from Who and other sources. He does. There's aliens and all sorts in this.
He does, but I'm going to now sort of, in effect, defend him. I can't believe I'm going to do this because because the great Robert Holmes also borrowed lots and lots of ideas from Hammer Films, from Universal, you name it. So borrowing in itself is not necessarily a problem.
How you do it.
Yeah, it does depend on how you do it. I think borrowing is one thing, but to literally pinch a scene is slightly too much on the nose for me, but there we go. There's a difference between borrowing and stealing, is what I'm trying to say.
We've lots of Marie Claire's in the live chat there. Fantastic YouTube channel. Go and check Marie out. Gaz the Man's in as well. Maybe she's Rose and the Human Doctor's daughter. Why are there's so many references to Rose? I don't think there are many references to Rose.
I did hear the rumor that either Millie is the Doctor's daughter, or the woman that lives next door. Is her is his daughter? I can't remember. Or this is his daughter. I don't know. I heard rumors about that, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
We've got there's obviously something that I've tired of for a number of years is that whole idea of, I think I said the last time, of the impossible girl, the girl who waited, mythologizing the companions too much. That grates on me a little, but I accept that does seem to work with modern TV. I could live without that. I would rather this be a basic anthology show again, Ian, where there was no connective tissue at all. Particularly with just 8 episodes, I don't think they need anything else. If you've got 8 solid scripts and an eclectic set of stories, then you don't need all that stuff. But I can see why they've fallen into the trap of believing that they do, because back in 2005, it worked so well for Doctor Who. It really did benefit it with a British audience. I don't think British audiences had seen anything like that before, aimed at a family audience. A Bunch of Wallace says Hugh Grant couldn't even fix this mess. So he's pretty... that's very extreme.
It is interesting, but that's really, it just brings up the point again. You imagine Hugh Grant in Space Babies, and if nothing else, he would bring enormous gravitas, and that might have helped. You never know, that might have pulled it back from the brink for me because of the gravitas. If I'd have had a Doctor on there that could actually carry it, and I loved, I might have given it a bit more leniency. It's possible.
Marie Claire says, it's weird for me. For the first time, I'm the same age as the current Doctor. My God, I wish I was. It's been a few years now.
I can't even remember that age.
Nor can I.
Daz Blue says, Matt's spot on. It wasn't a Doctor companion relationship. It was a young girl and her gay mate on a night out kind of relationship.
Yeah, it does feel like that. I get that. I do get that.
Can't comment.
I can comment.
No, I can't either.
I can, and it does, not a million miles off.
It's just, it's very camp to me, the whole thing, and I just, I feel like, like the second episode, I
Matt,
felt like
you're
I was
not
watching
alone.
an episode of Batman. Okay, classic Batman from 1966. That's how I felt for the second episode.
It was absolutely. I think it was absolutely going for that same kind of vibe. Yeah, it was very OTT.
Did they break the fourth wall in this?
Yes.
Well,
well, they sort of.
You went to the camera, Dan.
Yeah, that is breaking the. I think.
Yeah.
It is breaking the fourth wall.
More than that.
Well,
they both did. So did Jinx Monsoon.
Yeah. I mean,
what got me was that.
Again, it's just a moment. It's hardly the first time, though.
Well, I was going to say again, I can't crucify them for this. Exactly, I wouldn't crucify Tom Baker for it. So I must be honest. The fourth wall breaking genuinely doesn't bother me. Yeah, you're quite right, Dan, with those that you've brought up there.
Capaldi did. I've got several more. Capaldi did it. I don't like it either. And in that, I mean, as I say, I'm trying not to focus too much on individual episodes, because we're going to review them in full, in depth. But in that particular moment, again, didn't sit well with me at all. But that's very much because of what came after that with me. If it was another episode, Matt, like like a lot of those when Capaldi did it, and those bits in the classic show. I mean, apart from the one where Hartnell literally comes right up to the screen like he's on FaceTime. All the other ones have just passed me by, and I thought that's a little bit of fun. It doesn't matter.
I don't think it's such an issue with the Doctor doing it, but when other characters start doing it, I think that's when
true.
you have to.
Yes,
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, good. Yeah, really good point. Really good distinction. And Matt, you're not alone either. It's only fair to say as well, even though I feel I don't have a problem, other people agree with you. Lord Thoth has a problem understanding Ncuti's accent as well, and so does Liven's Flame. So this doesn't seem to be just you.
I must say one thing that I did notice, especially in the Space Babies, but actually in both episodes, yet again, the dialogue is particularly difficult to hear when there is music. And let's be honest, that's 90% of the episode. A lot of the dialogue gets lost, and certainly a lot of Ncuti's dialogue did get lost. I noticed the number of times I said to my other half, "What did he say?" So many times during the episodes, and that is a mixing problem as much as it is a line delivery problem. So there was definitely the music was far too high in the mix in a lot of instances, and that drowned out the dialogue, as happens a lot on television these days.
It does. But the thing is, though, do you have you've got Netflix, have you, Simon?
No, of course I haven't.
All right, because some channels they put on the Dolby 5.1, and you have to switch it off from 5.1.
Oh, okay. So it
yeah.
Okay, so it could be that it's on 5.1, but you shouldn't have to do that.
I was watching it in 2.1.
Exactly.
I don't know what I was watching it in. I was watching it on my television. Heaven only knows what. Do you know what I mean? Just through the TV speaker, and that's what everybody will be watching it through. And so it needs to be mixed correctly for plebs like me.
It does.
One thing I did notice, I don't know. When it being on the Disney Channel, I don't know if any of you saw WandaVision.
God no.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So there was a song.
It's a good show that was, for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard work. It was hard work, but it's certainly a lot better than everything they did afterwards.
Towards the end, they had a song, and it was like it ended up being on iTunes and that, and I kind of got that. I kind of got a repeat thing when they did the song at the end about the twist at the end. I found it was very similar in that way, and whether or not they were aiming for the same thing, with that whole, it was Agatha all along, that song.
Yeah.
So I think, and that was quite popular on iTunes.
Yeah,
so
I hated it, but it was popular. Yeah,
it was very extremely popular, and even for a minute song. But this one went for like 2.5 minutes. And it was like, what was the point of that? Whether or not it's going to go down further in the track, that's.
But let me ask you guys, right? Because I haven't seen these 2 episodes. What if you didn't like it, right, or you didn't like bits, Dan? What could they do to fix it?
Sack Russell T Davies.
Oh God!
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's what you would do for me.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
The things that don't work, the things that don't work for me are at the moment, because I have to stipulate, for me it feels like really early days on this new iteration of the show. The things that don't work for me are kind of compromises which I'm willing to indulge, look past, because they don't really affect. To be honest, they don't affect my viewing my viewing pleasure. They kind of, I view them as necessary. I'm happy with where it is at the moment. I don't want it to remain where it is. I view this as a starting point. It hasn't been the starting point of the rebuild. That was probably the anniversary specials, but because that was a sort of celebration of one thing or another, we won't go back there. But it was intended as a celebration, just not of what we wanted it to be. A celebration of something else. But now the real work to rebuild this national institution, this British icon, the real work begins right now. And I think we can't just sort of click our fingers and expect everything to be right overnight. And a large chunk of this series being right is having time to embed itself habitually into the viewing pattern, the viewing week of the average British and now global family audience. So I don't think we're really going to have the earliest that we'll know whether it's succeeding at that is at the end of season 1. But in the truth of the matter is that it'll probably take until the end of season 2 until we know whether the spell has been cast as to whether it works or not. I do think it's a great pity there's only 8 in this. I think it needs more. And the excuses that they give for that, are not washing with me at all. Whether people run to it or they don't, I think it just needs more.
Well, as you did last on the last episode, you showed that Disney is really serious about this. They've got it all in the tube station. They've got it everywhere. So, you know, if all their advertisement doesn't push it to the forefront to normies and fans, I guess, then you know they failed. You know, and you got to figure out why it didn't work. That's the thing. So,
and they are going pretty hard on it. I mean, I don't know whether they're doing the same in your territory, Matt, but globally, it does seem that they are very serious about getting this over.
The only thing I've seen advertised wise is that it's been on. They've had a couple of interviews with Millie and Ncuti for the morning shows. They've had. There's 2 morning shows here.
They're doing the circuit,
different channels. Yeah, so that's the only bit that I've seen.
Right.
To do with within Australia. So, you know, and even then, you know, the people that are interviewing them have no idea about Doctor Who. They just take the piss out of it.
Yeah, majority of them have no idea. The people that are interviewing.
I'm a Whovian now, you know.
This is where I am, where my viewing experience was with this. So I didn't watch it at midnight on the iPlayer. I think that's insanity.
Yeah.
a lot. To be fair, a lot of people did. I've seen a big fan page on Facebook did a poll about this, and this is a really, really large Facebook page, and it seemed like a lot of the fans did stay up and watch it more than I thought, and that's great. I want this to work. I don't want it to fail. But I was never going to do that. But by the same measure, I didn't wait until the tea time showing either for one reason or another, because of the way that I'm able to see them at all. But the big thing with this for me was making it feel like Doctor Who. Do I feel like I'm taken to that place that's particular to this show? That's a show that I've followed most of my life, Simon, just like you. You know, some of my earliest memories of Doctor Who, and you know whether you're there or not. Each of us has a very personal connection to this show and to the character, and I'm no different. So when I sat down and watched it, I was very nervous. But the first thing that hit me, I thought, was, firstly, let's look at the Doctor. The thing I came away with after seeing this was, where the hell was this guy at Christmas? There was so much more for me to like in this. For me, Gatwa, he's inhabiting this part really impressively. And I believe I was wrong. And Ncuti Gatwa has become the Doctor rather than the other way around. So much, to the extent that even during the Space Babies, let alone both, I'd totally forgotten about the twerking, oiled up, silly Billy with his touch grass advice and the shit-eating grin and all that kind of thing. I found this a fascinating characterization. Admittedly, these are very, very early days, but I did find it fascinating. I thought it was fresh. I loved the rhythm of it. And I loved what he was doing in the giggle. But he didn't do that in the Church on Ruby Road. I found him very adequate. He was there in some scenes. I got a feel for what I thought he was doing. Other scenes, I don't know, it just didn't come together for me in Ruby Road at all. Here, it absolutely worked. It was very energetic and very, very big brotherly, and I feel that it works. I also feel that he was heroic as well, which is something that I didn't know if he was going to do, because he wasn't really heroic in the giggle. He was impish in the giggle, which is a quality that the Doctor has. But I think heroism is so important to this character, and for me, he definitely brought the heroism back to the show in both episodes. We saw him physically put himself in jeopardy. We saw him make tough decisions. We saw him doubt himself, and then in the second episode, we saw him regret. We saw him fear. And we saw him face what he believed was an insurmountable odd. So, yes, real heroism is back in Doctor Who. And I found him... I sympathise with you, Matt, and everybody else who struggles with his accent. I find it curious and almost alien, because it's a Scots accent, but there's a few other things in there as well. So it sounds, in the way that Paul McGann kind of sounds Liverpudlian sometimes, and other times sounds like a mixture of something else. So I find it very, very curious. I found him impossible to take my eyes off or to listen to. And I like the fact that he's very physically capable. I don't think we've had an actor be this physically capable probably since John Pertwee's played the part. That's up for debate, I suppose. But I do feel this is a start, just a start. And for some of us that have seen enough, and people will drop off, but and others won't. They'll be in for the long haul, whatever he does. But I think there's a lot of room to grow here, and I find that really exciting, in a way that I found what Matt Smith was doing exciting as well. So I was riveted by Ncuti Gatwa on this. I thought he was fantastic, and I believe I was wrong. We see him crying or shedding tears in this, which I think I said on the other show, Simon, that I don't want that to become a habit, you know. And we see sort of tear marks on his cheeks and things like that. You know, I feel certain ways about that, but again, I think this is something that it depends how often they do it. Is this going to be a theme? Is this going to be a theme to the character? I don't know. As regards the stories, I found the stories. Look, I did struggle. Again, I struggled with Ruby Road. I enjoyed it for what it was on Christmas Day, but when I went and rewatched it, I found it quite inconsistent and desperate. You know, it just didn't quite all connect. But what I felt that we got here in these two episodes were two slices of pacey, punchy, imaginative, pure adventure. They were moving, they were exhilarating. At times, I think there was genuine stakes, and it was scary. It was packed with all the things that I want Doctor Who to be. There was lots of attitude there, admittedly. Some of it I'm keener on than others, but there were moments, and it was the escapism I've been wanting from this show. I didn't feel any political infringement or any wokeism whatsoever. If there was any, it didn't impeach on my enjoyment in any way. Nothing got in the way of me watching my favourite show. Again, I felt completely swept away in each moment. And speaking for myself, this is precisely, Simon, what I want this show to be now with this reinvention.
So can I just
tonally?
So can I ask you then, Dan, did it not grate on you, and you embraced seeing babies in pushchairs whizzing around? Which you basically did. I'm just intrigued. I just find it amazing that anybody could kind of respond well to that.
I absolutely loved it. I cannot say this.
No, it's all good. It's good.
I absolutely adored Space Babies. It's got to be my favourite episode of Doctor Who in at least.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
It's my favourite episode of Doctor Who in about 12, maybe 13 years. I thought it was outstanding. Lots and lots of fun. My biggest regret is that I haven't got any kids of that age that I can watch it with yet. There was so much. It was exactly what I enjoy about this show. It was it was fun, but never zany. There was interesting ideas. It was very visual. There were some good characters in there, but not too many. The visual stuff that was going on was very amusing. I think the Space Babies and those kind of visuals would not have been out of place in season 16, for example, or in some Troughton stories even. I think it's pure Doctor Who. I absolutely adored Space Babies, and I'm really looking forward to rewatching that in particular. I enjoyed it so much that I thought, well, obviously because the musical episode was coming up next, I thought I'm not going to enjoy that. There's no way I'm going to enjoy that because I hate musical episodes of everything. So I deliberately didn't watch for 2 hours. I think I left it because I didn't want it to. I'd had such a good time with Space Babies. Wow. I didn't want it. I didn't want this musical episode to come along and spoil my fun. But in the end, I have to say I enjoyed this almost as much. I thought this, again, that which Space Babies didn't give me, this sort of did. I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of it, kind of waiting for the singing to start, because that's what I was dreading. But nobody actually sings until 3 minutes before the end. And even then, it's kind of locked away in its own little thing. So even that was fine. So whilst I didn't enjoy this as much as I did Space Babies, I appreciated what it was trying to do. And it kept my energy level up. It kept me smiling. And for me, it just all feels so free again. It doesn't feel bogged down with mythology. It doesn't feel like it's preaching or political. For me, this feels like Doctor Who that is aiming to please as broad an audience and reach as many people as it possibly can. I don't feel preached to. I don't feel villainized or excluded in any way. And so therefore, I've come to the conclusion that Doctor Who is back. Whether one likes it or not, results may vary. Obviously, that's my take.
Wow. No. Okay. I mean, I knew you'd enjoyed it. I didn't realise you'd enjoyed it that much. But
loved it.
Good. Well, I'm delighted. Honestly, I'm delighted for you. It annoys me when people criticise you for enjoying it. Look, if you enjoy it, absolutely. There were people that enjoyed the Jodie era. I would never again criticise them. It's all good.
It's look. When you're on a live stream, right, you got to put your big boy pants on. People are going to criticize whatever you say, right? You're just going to have to face it. And if they disagree with you, they disagree with you, and that's that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if people criticize you at all. It's if Dan likes it, he likes it.
Well, I think
I want to pick up on Mary Claire's comment here. I'd love to know who thought that the Space Babies would be a good opener. You see, this is why I feel that they should have started with Ruby Road.
They did,
it's not that it was on like 5 months ago, something like that. I personally believe that Space Babies is actually a really good season opener. I have it up there with Smith and Jones, but
I like Smith and Jones.
I think it's a good season opener, but I don't think it's necessarily a great first season opener for either a new Doctor or a completely new iteration of the show. So, for me, this is series 40 of something I've been watching all my life. But for people who haven't seen it before, I don't know about that. But for me personally, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I adored every single minute of it. And it's so far and above anything that was done in the Chibnall era. I mean, for me, that's all compartmentalized, and this just gives me the Doctor Who feeling. I feel like I'm taken to that place. I'm on the adventure. Like I say, it gave me the chills, and I can't wait to see more. And maybe everything is possible. I don't know.
Well. So
I waited 2 hours to give you my takes. There's my take.
It's great. Again, I'm still out. I'll wait till this era passes, and
as always with this stuff, for the people that enjoy it, it's fantastic, and I would never want to take that away from anybody.
Exactly.
Personally, as much as you have enjoyed it, Dan, and as I say, I'm very pleased that you did. Time will tell whether it resonates with the public. It doesn't.
That's a different matter. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't appear to be resonating at the moment. Well, it certainly isn't resonating in the way that it did, say, in 2005 when it relaunched.
I think it's. I mean, I think stumbling over I don't want to talk about ratings and things like that because I think that we know so little about how it's been received so far. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions.
Well, what I mean though, is that I
know.
can still remember. I remember the week after Rose was broadcast, and the world was just buzzing about Doctor Who, but nothing to do with the ratings. I don't think we even got overnights in those days, however many years ago. But the world, the papers, the media, everybody was buzzing. By the time we got to episode 3, only episode 3, the world had exploded with Doctor Who. So
and that's what I'll never understand. That's why I'll never understand, Simon, why in Britain they've done what they do. What they always do is that they've taken the fans for granted. I don't care what Russell said in Radio Times. They've taken the fans for granted, and they've taken the general audience for granted yet again. Only putting billboards up until a few days before the premiere in 2005. They were counting down for the season weeks before with posters and promotion, interviews. Marketing was everywhere, and they've done hardly anything for this in Britain. I don't know whether it appears they've done more elsewhere. It appears, but I'm not there, so I don't know. I just feel a bit forlorn, so maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're right, because I haven't seen any adverts for it. I've seen one on a billboard. I think one on a bus. I think I see a lot of adverts on the BBC, like when I was at the gym. There were TVs up and I saw an advert for Doctor Who. So that's the only thing. But I think, when it first got released, it was everywhere, right? But I think the reason why it was everywhere was because, one, it was a different time at that moment in time with TV. And two, it's because that they were solely focusing on England because that's where Doctor Who lives and was born. So, but now Disney's taken over and they want to blast it out to the rest of the world, don't they? They're kind of leaving.
Well, mainly American audience, mainly the American audience.
Well, I want to come back. I want to come back to Simon's point a little, because although I think what you said earlier on, Ian, at the top of the show about people talking about television, they still do when something event happens, and I think, and you started with this statement, Simon. So I think as we head towards the end, it's good to revisit it. Well, regardless of how I responded to it or how any of the four of us responded to it, you'd be a fool to argue that Doctor Who is simply not event television in the way that it once was. And it does seem to me to be the case that the BBC have given up the fight to make it event television, and they're happy to repackage it and offer it in a different way and kind of wash their hands. This is why I mean, we've talked about this before. It would seem that when Bad Wolf showed interest in this, Russell T Davies showed interest in doing it independently, they ripped their arms off because Doctor Who was a problem that somebody was willing to take away from them. And I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what we're seeing here. It's a byproduct of the BBC's own inability to manage this brand and to run that show because they've never really understood it.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge a few people in the live chat who agree with me, at least partially. CTC says Space Babies was completely recognisable Doctor Who for me. Heretic says, overall, I liked both episodes, but there are issues, and I don't see those issues getting better. Well, again, it is early days, but thank you for the comment, Heretic. Simon Butler says, me and my kids love both and the song.
So you're the one. Somebody had to like it.
Even I didn't like the song. Well, I found the song inoffensive. If I'm going to have to sit through something like that, I thought it was quite well made, but it's not to my taste at all. Several people commented about the ratings. The ratings landscape. I don't want to sound like a company man. In this instance, though, we'd be foolish to say that the ratings landscape hasn't changed when we've got a piece of television that's up to be streamed nearly 24 hours before it's broadcast on TV. Things have changed. We will be looking at the ratings here on Type 40 Live, but I'm just waiting until we've got a broader landscape, a broader canvas to look right across the board at. I don't think there's any reason, any grounds to call this a failure at all. Not least of all, based on the fact that we don't know what their ambitions are for it. I mean, like, as we were just saying, I think the ambitions for it are different. I don't think they're trying to create event television anymore, and more for them, but they have different ambitions. Well done, Dan, says Frank Renault. Thank you. Oh, and CTC does agree with me.
And also, I was just going to say, sorry, go on, carry on, Dan.
Simon Anthony's pleased with this mail. Oh, Dan, I think I love you. Well, there you go.
I just wanted to mention CTC's other comment, who says, I felt hesitant to express my fondness for it and risk the wrath of comments. And
there you go.
The whole point of this channel, CTC, is you will not get wrath from anybody. After all this time, I would hope you realise that. Quite right. Everything is possible. We always say this, but all views are accepted here. We don't criticise anyone.
Well, we do.
Well said, mate. No, this is the proof of the pudding. Now we've been saying this for nearly 4 years on this show. This is the proof of the pudding. Now this is where we show that we're not all mouth and trousers. Yeah. The amount of people people contact me in direct messages, and thank you everybody who does. I mean, I wish I could respond more to people individually. I do try to keep on top of the DMs. I do appreciate it all. But the amount of people who've tentatively asked me, what did you think? And I've said, well, look, I don't want to say too much, but I really enjoyed it. And I've had several people, nearly a dozen people have said to me, oh, thank God. They've come in, their first message has been, what did you think? Very tentative, a lot like CTC. And then when I've said that I've liked it, they've said, oh my God, I'm so glad you've said that because I really loved it. And people are afraid to admit that they enjoyed it. And it's a shame. I understand why the fandom has been taken to that place, because it's down to the management, it's down to the culture, the way that we've been spoken to as a fan base and as an audience. I don't think our generation will ever forget it. Maybe we'll forgive it in time. I don't know.
It hasn't been healthy.
No.
It really has. It has been divisive. It's been deliberately divisive. They've chosen to take that tack, and it is a shame because it has caused division. But I pray that that's never going to be anything that happens on this show. Because it hasn't happened so far.
We will
absolutely
never,
not.
We'll never, slag anyone off for like that. You know what I mean?
No.
Says the man who loves Delta and the Bannerman. Crimpling to Bloom. The reason that I love Delta and the Bannerman is completely different from the reasons why I loved Space Babies in particular. Captain Poppy was adorable. She absolutely was. CTC. There was so much behind it. Fair play, Dan. Thank you. I want some of Dan's meds, says M.
I did. I've also got a comment. I'm sure you won't be able to bring it up, but it was just brilliant. It made me chuckle. Jack Thursby said, Dan, if you are being kidnapped, blink 3 times and we will come to rescue you.
Kasey, you again, I come back to my original point. I loved what Russell T Davies did with the show originally. The odds were that I was going to love it when the same writer comes back to run the same show. I did have worries about his mindset because the man, I believe that Russell T Davies is out of touch. I believe that he has become ideologically captured and intellectually compromised. However, what's on screen was so enjoyable. And that's how I judge this show. I judge the show by what's on screen. I don't judge it by I judge it simply. Did I enjoy what was on screen, rather than rather than should I enjoy this because of silly things that the producers and stars have said and done? It's for me. Not everybody's able to do this. People watch TV in different ways. I don't know. I am just able to cut away the noise and focus on that for that 50 minutes and just shut everything else out. But I understand why other people can't.
I was certainly able to cut out the noise. It didn't make any difference for me. I just didn't like it. It's a subjective thing.
I get why Russell's take on the show has never particularly worked for you, and I understand why. As I say, I understand why Ncuti won't work for everybody, because I don't think he's a natural fit for the part. It's just that I'm kind of fascinated by what he's doing, and I want to see more. I can't wait to see more. He may drop the ball massively. As I say, he wasn't very. He was adequate in Ruby Road. I don't want to say he was poor, but he was adequate. It felt like he was treading water, and he felt a bit like when you go to the the Sea Life Centre and you see a seal sort of balancing a beach ball on the end of its nose. That's what it was like. It was like watching,
That's not good, Dan. That's not good.
Yeah, in Ruby Road, this is the bit where he does that. In Ruby Road.
I've ever heard.
But it didn't feel like he was playing a character. It felt like he was doing a turn. In this, it felt like it felt like he was digging into the character and really getting somewhere with it. And therefore, I'm in. I'm absolutely all in on this. And I may get burnt. I may not. And results, as always, may vary. Okay, so where are we? Where are we? This Doctor Who does recommence on Disney Plus and the iPlayer this coming Friday and Saturday with a third brand new episode. So that's Friday the 17th of May, world over. And then poor BBC iPlayer viewers, customers get it at midnight, Saturday the 18th of May, and then it screens on BBC One later that evening. The Type 40 podcast will be reviewing these episodes in full in time, so please keep watching and listening at our home feed at type40.podbean.com and across all major podcatchers. And we'll be here on Type 40 Live with our preview of the next one that's coming along in a couple of days' time too, as well as other things to be confirmed. Everybody, TBC. Let us know what you think of it all in the comments. All our views and this take on this huge, all-important make or break massive relaunch for our favourite TV show, Doctor Who.
I need a big dance number. That's what I'm going to put into the universe. I need the Doctor to have a big, fierce dance routine that, destroys a monster with twerking. Or maybe some death drops. And that's what will drop the monster.
As ever, it's good, isn't it? As ever, we're going to round things off with a quick look at the view screen. It's our regular eye right up your temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures from out there in the Whoniverse. We're streaming this all across Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too, to the Type 40 Facebook group. Hello, everybody in there. And we want your fan art. We want your traditional art, your digital art, any crafting or cosplay, anything of that nature. Let's get it in. Let's get it up. And we'll give you our honest opinions here and a showcase for your work. So if you've got a DeviantArt page, for example, an online website, an Etsy account, just an X account where you put out your artwork, or you know of an artist that you think we'd enjoy their work, we're going to get it up on the view screen. So let us know where we can find you or them. First of all, we've got this one, Simon. This is the Devil's Cord itself, courtesy of Owen Ruthven. Now, Owen was also the guy who put together the fan trailer we played earlier on. So he does graphic design as well as video. And this is his latest piece. It's sort of pastiche poster. Right back to the swinging 60s here with the Beatles. And, you can't see them below the nose here. So actually they look even more like a Derby and Joan club. It's very strange.
It just got to make you realise, why didn't they cast people that looked like the Beatles and Cilla Black?
More to the point, I mean, I'm a huge Beatles fan, Matt, but I don't know if you noticed, the bloke who played John Lennon, not only did he not look anything like him, but he was like ripped like a WWE wrestler underneath that shirt.
I noticed that. He was literally bursting out of that shirt, wasn't he?
I don't know if they got Nick Briggs to do the voices or what, but it was like watching the old cartoon show, if you've ever seen it.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, this is a lovely piece of artwork. I love it.
Yeah, I think Owen has yet again, he's just balanced the elements really nicely here and captured the flavour of the episode, the spirit of the Devil's Cord, and a little bit of the magic of the Beatles too. I think when you've got people who don't really look anything like them.
It's all like them. They look more like the Monkees than the Beatles.
At least
they look more like the Monkees.
At least they sounded like the Beatles. At least they sounded like the Beatles when they spoke.
Got Liverpool accents. I mean, that's about all you can say.
Yeah.
Oh, Matthew Powder thinks the same thing. There you go, Matthew. I'm not alone then.
It looks more like the Monkees. Better art than the episode deserves, says Jack Thursby. Like I say, no one is more surprised than me that I enjoyed it so much. Nice, says Ezra Goldstein. What else have we got? Yeah, so this is, generally speaking, I think, quite popular. He looked more like Steve Jobs, says PD Rich. He did look a lot like Steve Jobs, come to think of it. But I do like, again, Ncuti and Millie there dancing around. I don't know. This is not one of those things.
That bit when they were going back to the TARDIS afterwards and they kept... it was cringe. It was just
in my view, there's nothing about the Devil's Cord that couldn't be fixed without cutting the episode about 4 minutes before the point they actually did. But there we go. Looked more like Oasis, says.
Actually, they do have an Oasis.
Monk of Magnesia.
I'm just surprised they haven't released that song yet on iTunes.
It'll be out, don't worry.
Like they did with that Goblin thing, whatever that was.
So yes, go and follow Owen Ruthven. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Owen. But you can follow Owen. He's got a YouTube channel and an X account, artwork and videos, and lots of creative stuff of all kinds. Seems like a decent guy too. So Owen, if you're out there, we love what you do at Type 40 Live. Keep on doing it, my friend. Another bit of fan art now. This is from Joe Cook, and this is for episode 1, Space Babies. He's tapped into the definite Ridley Scott influences there. The original Alien film. It's got the strapline. It says, "In space, no one can hear babies scream." I as somebody who has raised several children, including twins, I would say that's untrue. I suspect that I would probably have been able to have heard mine in space. But there we are. So I like this. I think this is a nice
beautiful
homage.
Absolutely. But you see, this is where it frustrates me, because that's the show I want to see, not the one we got. You know what I mean? It just kills me. That's what I want to see in Doctor Who. It can't be that hard, can it?
Knowing your sensibilities, Simon, not just for the sort of the Hinchcliffe era, but for horror movies and sci-fi horror movies even more so. I can imagine how frustrating you found that episode.
Exactly, because it could have been this. It could have been what we're looking at now.
That's fantastic, Joe, says Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Peter Harrington says, "In space, you'll fill your nappy." I like that. I like that. Yes, it's good stuff from Joe. Follow Joe over on X as well. I think he's got a website too. Joe does a lot of great fan art, mostly digital, and I suspect that he'll be putting out several posters for the various episodes throughout this season of Doctor Who. We have cool from Cybermat Strikes. So going down pretty well. Okay, so yes, one more time. If you're a fan artist or you know a fan artist that you think we should get up on our view screen, we want to get their work and celebrate it. Yes, by all means, send them our way. You can drop us a comment down below in the video description or get in touch with us as well, or send them our way. Either works just as well with us.
You know, with all this art, right? None of them is as good as the TARDIS and the Jaffa Cakes. None of them. Do you know what I mean? Where's my art?
All the tarts.
All the tarts, mate.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Ian, your art is shown every week.
And you need to have a woman in it.
Oh, wow.
Yes, please reach out to us through our social media, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who, and send the fan art our way, or just reach out to us generally if you've got something to say about any of this. There's the comment section, of course, too. Cut out the middleman, if you like, and go straight to the Type 40 Facebook group. I'm not saying that all 4 of these incarnations of the Doctor are members of our Facebook group, but you'll never know until you join yourself. So you find out by joining the Facebook group Type 40 over there. You just hit Type 40 into the search field and we'll pop up in due course. No tarts there. I'm afraid to have to buy your own tarts, but maybe one day. Well, maybe we'll come up with the branded Type 40 tarts in time. Where's my rusks? Asked Peter Harrington.
Rusks.
We've had a run on rusks. I'm afraid,
Rusk.
Peter. Yeah. Never mind. Where's the sequel?
Makes me want to go
Space Grannies.
Yes, sorry.
They should have gave Rusk to the space babies, shouldn't they? I think they.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they should. They should have given them space rusks. They would have been blue. They should have given them blue space rusks.
Yeah. So join us again on Thursday, same time and space for rambling and rattling on, ranting and raving through space and time on the next Type 40 Live. More of the best in news, views, nostalgia, and banter and stupid jokes, as always, from 8 p.m. Hold tight, shooty. More Doctor Who on the way. So this is the thing, I think people are talking about this show for better or for worse, but they are kind of in pockets. It's whether they're still going to be talking about it by the time the next episode rolls along in like 3 days' time. That'll be the trick, and if it can be sustained over a period of however long, isn't it, Matt? Obviously, Matt, you're the only real-time traveller here on the panel. How's Wednesday looking from where you are? What's going on?
Wet. Looks
It's
very
wet.
Yeah, we'll have to be staying in and watching television today.
Staying in. And anything particular?
Some Hooniverse on iPlayer, then that's the thing to do.
Yes.
Some no, there's lots out there, Matt. There's loads of, you can go watch some classic stuff.
You know what? I feel like watching the Pyramids of Mars now.
Oh.
8-Bit says R.I.P. Doctor Who is trending again. You know, we don't do that hashtag here. You know, I can see where it's coming from. I understand why, but I don't think that's very helpful at all. But there we go. Thanks for the kind words, says CTC.
Too many weirdos. It does.
Yeah, it's unnecessary in my opinion,
sides.
but I understand why it exists. Great show, thank you, says William Jennings. Thank you for joining us, William, and anybody else. We've had a lot of new people join us tonight, Simon.
Woohoo! Good, nice to see them.
And some left before Dan actually said anything. So there you go. We're not that old.
Doctor Who needs to grow up, says Nathan Huggins, and have age range of 12 certificates like for movies. I don't know why you would only want people of 12 and up to be watching Doctor Who. I think it's it needs to get children from the ages of 6 or 7 up, I think, ideally. But obviously, you know, some people do want it to aim for older children. I don't know. I think you should always start around then. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Let's not get rambling on. Thank you for all the comments, everybody. It's been explosive, expansive, and who knows where we're going to go next. Keep the comments coming as always, and thank you for your company, Simon. I know you can't make this Thursday. You're off on manoeuvres elsewhere in space and time, aren't you?
I am indeed. Yep. Sorry about that. Have a good show anyway, and I'll still watch it on catch up.
Good stuff. Ian's in the trenches as well, aren't you, on Thursday? Out doing heaven knows what.
Yeah, well, bloody working as always. Yeah. Sorry, I'll watch it. I'll watch it the next day, or maybe.
I should bloody well hope so. And yes, thanks for joining, everybody. As I say, more comments. Let us know what you think of all our opinions and experiences. And we've had a very busy show, a packed live chat there across YouTube, Rumble, X, and on Facebook. I just wish we could get to more comments, but that's it for this one. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40. But yeah, it's time to pull the lever and to fly off. We'll see you on the next one, everybody, or the one after that. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Ah.